Warning: this program may contain explicit language that may be considered offensive or inappropriate to children and some adults.
The following content is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey, you're muted.
Yes. Sorry. This is an
I'm like texting on my phone, doing my nails at the same time. Just
I know, I
looking for intro
I didn't
music.
think I could unmute myself since he muted me.
I
So
was like,
my bad. This is an impromptu WandaVision conversation because all of us really love WandaVision. We're all nerds. And we saw the finale, and I've been seeing it on the internet, all these horrible theories, and all these, some of them are decent, and also just people having mixed responses to the finale. So I was like, okay, so let's have a conversation. So this is Ricky Z. I'm Duryea. This is Julian. This is Matt. This is Destiny, and that is Mo. And we are all going to have a conversation. I kind of want to just go clockwise from, let's start with Julian and end with me. Just say, like, what you thought about the finale. Did you like it, yay or nay? Just like a brief, how'd you feel about the finale? Let's start with Julian. Brief, Julian.
okay, so it's gonna be actually incredibly brief. I have yet to see the finale, but
Why
I have
are you
seen,
here?
I've seen like 1,000 of the spoilers already.
Julian!
This is his
Julian
second time.
I've already
Second time.
seen, you know what I mean? So, but it's alright. It's alright. So, I've seen at least for myself glimpses, and it's just it's like her at her full power. So I'm like really excited for that. So like to actually see it in action. It's gonna be cool. But like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I know. I told you it's gonna be.
All right. Next, Matt.
I think this had one of the single most fascinating scenes that I have seen in a long time.
The finale or the whole series?
The finale, especially the I can't think of the name, but the Elysius ship scene.
Oh, yeah. When the Visions talking to each other.
That was so. Oh my gosh, that was
awesome.
fantastic. That was
Vision of color versus white vision? Yes.
yeah, and
should we do a
superhero
spoiler
battle.
alert for this?
Oh,
this whole thing
it's
is
on the
spoilers.
post. It's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
we're talking
cool.
about WandaVision.
Yeah,
Spoilers,
no, that's why I'm saying it's okay.
Cool,
So,
awesome.
I was gonna say, so is it like on
No,
the
it's not
level
your turn
of,
anymore. We got no.
Sorry, my bad. All right.
Come back to you. We'll come back to you. I'm not trying to shade you. We'll come back to you.
Sorry, my bad. It was my fault.
I could talk all day about that scene though, so
No,
I'm
we
gonna
are-
pass the ball.
Destiny.
I loved it. I thought it was great. The only thing I wish there was more Captain Marvel. I wish there was more of her in there.
You mean
felt she was kinda
you mean Spectrum?
Monica
Spectrum, yes.
Monica Rambeau.
original.
We don't know what name they're gonna go with. She has
Right,
so
yeah.
many. So
She's
let's just
Monica
start with
Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau, right?
Monica, yes. There should have been more of her. I wanted to
My
see
guess.
her really use her power more.
Gunica. Yes.
Mo.
Yeah. My guess it'll probably be Spectrum will be her name. Or Photon like her mama. As far as Monica Rambeau is concerned. Please excuse me, I am in the middle of Zamunda watching to the premiere of Coming to America 2. So I'm going to keep this very, very brief.
Oh, nice.
No,
Did that come out today?
the color.
Like,
Yesterday.
Came out a few days
It came out yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Oh, yeah, it's not
so I'm loving it, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We can do another episode about that later. Anyway, the whole point, WandaVision, awesome premise. I love how Paul Bettany tried to play y'all, saying it was a special cameo when it was himself. Right, and plus it basically gave the lead up to Doctor Strange 2. That's coming out next year, I believe. So I'm really excited. I wish it was coming out sooner because I want to see, what the Scarlet Witch is going to really do. Is she going to be the villain or the anti-hero?
Period.
I'm here for it either way.
Yo, she about to be the villain like shit. What do you mean?
Right.
I think she's
Period.
villain. I think she's
Period.
Breaking
Did you
Bad.
see the after scene?
I'm
I'm
leaning towards the anti-hero.
I think villain, and then I think that what's
Well,
his
Scarlet
name?
Witch is an anti-hero, but
Sure
she's
is,
gonna
yeah.
be the antagonist of this. Well, she's gonna be the problem. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I feel like
I can see
Doctor
that.
Strange is gonna.
Well, hell, she
tied
was the
they-
problem in WandaVision, but
But
it
they
was
made
about
it
law.
clear. Let me tell you where they made it clear she's about to be the next big bad.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch is supposed to destroy the world. They're gonna tie her to Dormammu. Somebody said.
Yeah,
her
I
and
think so.
Dormammu.
I think they're gonna.
Dormammu's gonna
that.
somehow
But
be,
no, the next.
He's gonna somehow be like
No.
using her to cause. Anyway, I'm sorry, getting ahead of ourselves.
No.
Rakia-
But
I'm
phase 4,
thinking-
the next big bad is Kang the Conqueror.
Okay, well,
I think that they're
So he
looking
might
up
be.
to
So
a
he might be
larger
manipulating
big
her in
bad.
some kind of way.
Okay.
I think there's
Kang
a
the
larger
Conqueror. Where
big
the hell you
bad,
get
but
that?
I feel
Okay,
like I
so
think
Yes, it's Kang the
Dormammu.
Conqueror. That's been
Ricky,
confirmed.
Ricky,
He's already been
What were
casted.
your thoughts? What were your thoughts?
Okay, so I thought it was fantastic. It left me with lots of questions. So like it left me with questions because now it makes me excited for what's to come next. Like I am invested for phase 4. Like in general, I want the big picture. I want all the pieces. Like I want to know what's going on.
I know.
Like
right?
I'm excited.
It is nice.
For me, it's interesting because I was one of those people who was like heavy into the theories and stuff. And so there was part of me that was like, oh, none of the theories came true. However, when you step back and look at WandaVision as one body of work, it is exactly what it should have been. Because it really gave me, like, especially that last episode, I said, now this is a Marvel. It's a movie. It's just a really long one. And they took their time.
Yes.
It panned itself out like a Marvel movie. Only difference between this and a normal Marvel movie, Marvel has these really dope action scenes scattered throughout, and this one just had that last episode of it. But it made sense because it was doing the TV show story arc kind of thing.
Yes.
So I thought it was like, after looking at it, I was like, yo, and then the way in the last episode everything was incorporated. We got to see them flash through time. We got to see each character. And so I think it was
Previously
great.
on.
Yeah, I think it was great storytelling. I really do.
It was excellent storytelling.
But the ending, I knew the ending was gonna be sad. Oh my god! Like when she said, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mom."
Your mom. Yes, that was terrible.
Oh, and
that
the
was
part,
so terrible.
you're the part of the bind stove that's part of me, and this is, but you're my love. I'm
gonna tell you, I rewatched the finale.
Soulmate. Oh.
I rewatched the finale, but then after they were like walking home, I started texting because I just couldn't. I couldn't sit through it. I wanted to see the after scenes, but I couldn't sit through watching her say goodbye to that man and him children.
Detach yourself?
Yeah, I had to because like the first time I got through it without crying, I was like, if I watch this again, I'm gonna cry. Because when you really I saw this thing that was saying that like this is just a great example of the writers and how they can do fluffy entertainment, but they can really be teaching you something if you open your eyes to it, and just talking about dealing with trauma. And when what you're watching is this girl who grew up in a third world-ish kind of country, right? Not third world, but like a war-torn country. And then she attached herself to American culture for escapism, and then had to sit in the same house where her parents died for like a week. And then lost her brother. The only thing that she was attached to that helped her get through that loss was then taken from her. So of course, and not only was he taken, they ransacked his body.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we talk about for a minute how Haywood tried to basically
He said, "F them kids,"
her into bringing Vision back to life?
That's what he was trying to do. That's what he was trying to do.
She didn't take the bait.
Good for her.
She didn't
Wanda's
take
too
the bait.
smart for that. Wanda's too smart for that.
I don't think she was too smart for it. I think she was just at a place like, you know what? I love him and I want to do right by his legacy, because Vision lived a life of I want to do what is right. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think
I think that's what I.
Right.
But the reason I say she's too smart
she
for
knew
it
she
is
could wreak
because
havoc.
But she didn't
I don't
know
think she could do that.
She didn't know she could bring him back.
Yeah, she didn't know she didn't.
Yeah,
exactly
that
do
was
But
all
the
a
reason I
shock
think
to
that
him.
she was too smart for it is
That's
because
true.
she said multiple times that he does not want to be a weapon. And I think she
Right.
know good. Now, one thing Wanda can tell is a motherfucker who trying to do some weaponizing, because that's been her whole issue from the beginning, is these men with weapons. So I think she can look at Haywood and be like, "Nah, bro, I see what time you on." I don't even think she was. I don't even think she was seeing Haywood in that conversation. He wasn't even.
Which is why
there
her
to
vision couldn't exist outside of Westview.
Because it was a piece of her.
Right, like her vision could not
completely off
exist out of
from her.
West. Yeah, like that one couldn't be a weapon because it couldn't.
Because he was a part of
So
Hex.
she's
Right,
basically a
it couldn't
golem.
expand him.
Essentially.
No, he's not a golem.
Well,
you didn't even see it.
But we were talking about it before.
Technically.
She charged him.
Technically,
you know,
he's
No,
not
but
that
she
far
said,
off,
it
though.
though in the finale. They're like,
Okay,
you're part of the
but
Mind
at
Stone.
the-
That's
but at the same
of him.
Wait.
but like,
Right.
she said like he's part of the Mind Stone. The one that she created
Right.
in Westview is the part of the Mind Stone that basically made her who she is right now, based off of our MCU. Maybe not based off like our comics, but like that's because they're part of that same like Mind Stone. Like, and so outside of that, like he doesn't exist. So therefore, like she can still have her vision and still honor like what he wanted. He didn't want to be still alive in the world and be used as a weapon. And part of her trauma was like she had to be the one to initially kill him, and then she's already had to deal with that. She already had to deal with that grief, and then like, to have Thanos bring him back,
to
kill him
and
again.
then kill him again in front of her.
Right, like I wouldn't know how I would deal with that. I'd be pissed.
Love
as fuck.
trauma. I couldn't understand.
I want to talk about some of the issues that we had with the finale. Okay, let's talk about that because we have a lot of stuff, theories and stuff here. But I want to talk. We talked about what we like. Let's talk about what we didn't like. I'm gonna tell y'all what I didn't like. And the reason I didn't like it is because, and I had someone on the internet say, I didn't even think about this. I didn't like the Evan Peters explanation. Now, I did like that. I didn't like that they chose him to do that because it seemed like a dickish thing for Marvel to do, and they don't usually.
You damn right it was.
They don't usually do
a lot
dickish
of parts of
things.
this, a lot of things
Okay.
was dickish about this.
But no,
I-
that
right.
to me
But you
was
know what?
really rude. That was really rude.
It
Like
was
you cast
rude,
him
but I
as
appreciate
that
that.
character. It's like you wanted to get everybody's hopes up, and then you didn't even give us a decent payoff.
Okay, but American Horror Story does the same thing.
But this is not
I
a
mean,
horror story, boo.
You know what though? I
Exactly,
never
but
took
it's
it
not like it's
as-
never been done before.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was gonna say
Go
I
ahead.
never once took it as anything other than a guy in the town who was being controlled and being made to act like I never bought the multiverse thing.
But the fact that they put him as
it was pretty
Quicksilver,
convenient.
that
That's
was
so
rude.
specific, though. That's so
I would
specific.
think Marvel wants to distance themselves from the Fox X-Men movies.
It's different. Let me tell you why it's another thing. Here's the real thing. The Quicksilver that Aaron Taylor, that's his name, Aaron Taylor, whatever.
They're Thompson
Their
or something.
personalities were totally different. That's the even worst part. Their personalities weren't even the same. So you got you literally picked the actor and had him play that version of Quicksilver, down to the T.
Yes.
He was that personality,
Yes.
that look, that swag. He was all of that. And then the explanation was he's just the next door neighbor who happens to be an actor because randomly had a headshot, right? So then I'm thinking to myself,
Yes.
you're a dick, Marvel. That's the first time I ever said like that was rude
Yes.
because you knew what we're gonna be thinking, and then the payoff was like, so okay. And then to get even deeper, this is where it really falls apart. Why couldn't Agatha make him look like her brother? She could control him. She could give him super
Because-
speed. She could make him powerful. Yeah, she could make him just look different.
You know what? This show is so
Because
meta
you didn't know
though
what
that
they
I'm
look like,
okay
though.
with the explanation of
I'm
wanting
okay
the
with
audience
it.
to recognize the guy. You know,
Right. It
like
was
the show is so
clearly-
meta and on so many levels. Like that works for me.
It
It
just
was.
yeah, you're right. You're right. It is meta, but
To
it
me
just
that-
was
to me
like
that works.
you could have just brought Aaron Taylor, the actual Quicksilver, back, and we still would have been like, oh shit. We still would've had an oh shit moment.
That.
All you
I'm
have to
gonna
do is say it was a
explain that,
glamour.
though.
Literally, all you have to do is say it was a glamour.
No,
gonna throw it-
Yo, she's
Agatha
teleporting.
already said it.
No, I'm
She
saying
said that he was all the way in a whole nother country.
she
across
said that he
the
was in a whole
world.
nother country and she couldn't
plus,
get his
I don't
body.
think she knew what-
Mo,
across
listen.
the world.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
I'm not saying that they could
But
have. I'm not saying that they could have not
right,
used
but
her
at
body.
the same time,
Mo,
who's
let
to
me
say
just
she-
say this sentence
who's to
out
say
loud.
that-
Let me say this
Can I?
sentence.
Okay,
Let me say
fine,
the
and I'll
sentence.
give you the same answer out loud. Go ahead.
Okay, fine then, Mo. Go ahead. You got it. You win.
All right. Who's to say that she even knew what Quicksilver looked like?
Yeah.
She was never over there in that country
Sokovia.
in Sokovia.
So then, how would she know that he had
Who's
silver
to say
hair?
that his face was even on the news?
Well, how would she know he had silver hair? How would she
We-
know that he could
we
move
don't.
at super speeds?
We
All
knew
I'm
that
saying
he
is
had
this.
power,
To me,
but
to me,
okay,
didn't
and
know.
then
technically
honestly,
a witch, right?
even
So
still,
what-
she
what
got
type
in
of
her
witch
head, bruh.
things?
She was in her,
Divination, for example.
like, yeah, she's a witch. Like we're
Um,
pretending that her magic.
Yeah, she was in her head after she.
Yo, she's a century.
Okay,
She's
but
been
after
alive
she
for
did the
400
spell to get in
years.
her head.
But
Okay,
to,
go
okay,
ahead,
to-
Julian,
to-
'cause she's
sorry,
not gonna let
guys.
me talk.
Well, to your
You're
other,
getting
to
fired
your other
up.
point though, she could possibly
Because
not
Mo
be actually
intentionally
make
talks
him
over me, so
able
then I get
to-
excited.
So he might actually be able to make her.
Aw, I
She
love
might
you
not actually
too.
be able to make him like.
But you don't
look like
respect
her,
me.
because usually when you
love
like
you,
transfer like
though.
a soul, things like that, you know what I mean? It'll like, which is how she would kind of like figure out like how to move his powers. Probably it's usually linked to like your soul, things like that. Like you move it to a new body kind of thing. You don't move the whole body itself. You know what I mean? You copy
That's
the
what I'm
soul
saying,
into
Julian. So
everything.
my
So
whole
it's
thing
like,
was about it was like, you're a witch. You're a centuries old witch with the dark home, with the dark hold. So you have all this magic at your disposal. So you can make him look like this dude, but you can't come up with a believable glamour. And that's just and a glamour's not even a glamour's not even a changing of the who it is. It's literally just an illusion. You couldn't come up with an illusion to just make him look like another person.
I feel like there's more to his story.
Again, who's to say
You're
that she
strong
didn't know
enough,
what
like
dude
she was
looked
strong
like?
enough to
Because
yo,
she didn't do that.
I don't think that's
She
I
didn't
get
do
what
that
you're
spell to
saying,
go
but-
through his life
I think
until
there's more
after
to
she
his
pulled
story.
her hair.
There's more to Ralph because because as far as I can tell, like as far as I remember with Sword, Ralph wasn't a missing person. There's like I feel like there's more to his story later. Like I feel
There's
like he's
probably going to be more.
Yo, wait, pause. You just
That
hit
was the
something
FBI.
too. That's a plot hole. Let me tell you why it's a plot hole. Ralph wasn't a missing person, but Monica was looking at his bills,
right.
which means that he lived in Westview.
No,
'Cause she
that
was
was
looking-
that was Ralph's house.
Yeah,
Agatha took
right.
up in Ralph's house.
But,
Ralph
like,
is not
but,
the
like,
missing
but, like-
person. Ralph is not the missing person.
No.
The
What they're
question
saying is
is,
at
what
the very
happened to the
beginning.
missing
What happened
person
was
then?
no. What she's saying
Because
is
Ralph was the only one that wasn't on the board.
yeah. So what
Ralph
we're
and
saying is that
Agnes,
they could
though.
account for every person,
They couldn't account for Ralph and Agnes.
which doesn't make sense that they couldn't account for Ralph because he owned that house.
Right. He
Okay,
was in
no.
the house.
Right,
I'm
Agnes
gonna
could've, like-
a little continuity in the order that things happened. That board was put up in the same episode that was the cliffhanger with him
Right,
showing up.
Before
So
they said
we
that
don't
she
know
recast
if
Pietro.
they don't
But
know
they-
if they ever identified him.
We don't know if it ever happened. You're right, but the information we got as the audience was that they couldn't identify him with someone missing, which to me is a plot hole because you telling me the motherfucker who lived next door to the house that she's occupying, y'all didn't check
Like
that
no
house
one,
first.
like he didn't have anybody that was trying to call him, find him, hang out with him during that entire time.
Well,
So,
remember during
I
the
think it's a
third-
plot hole.
remember
I
on
think
the
they
fourth
wanted to do
episode-
something like they were like, look, let's mess with the fans, and
I don't
then
know.
they
I'm not
did it
fighting
for
on the
that
plot
reason.
hole.
Because
I'm
to
messing with
me-
the fans,
Well,
yes,
me
but not
either.
the plot hole created.
Oh, it's
Right,
definitely because to me, only reason to
because
me is
on
like, yo,
episode
Agatha
4
definitely could have made him look like her, like him. Sorry.
Not if
What
she's
you saying,
never
Mo?
seen him.
Sometimes
And
they
plus,
also
on
could
top of that,
transfer. Sorry.
Right, and that was a
Where-
red herring. They did that. to
So
help people
answer
out.
me this,
But
Mo.
not necessarily a red herring, but sometimes they take it, they create their own little red herrings because look at us looking at every little character.
Right.
Like every single
Mhm.
person, giving them every single detail. Who could this possibly be? And when literally they could have actually just been an extra with just a few similarity traits that are just like this extra, this other hero, and so like their appearance could possibly be the same. And boom, we've taken it and ran with it. They're gonna stoke that flame. Of course, we're running with it.
Well, like
But-
Spider-Man
Right.
was in
I
Iron
mean,
Man too.
remember-
That's
Well,
an
let me
example
ask a
of that.
question to Mo
Exactly, things
because
like
Mo
that.
says that she couldn't make him look like the original Quicksilver because she never seen him. But how does she know that he had
Who's
silver
the-
hair?
Again, she probably
Because
saw the
Ralph
blood
had
like
red
everybody
hair.
else did.
No,
Well,
Ralph
I-
had red
No,
hair.
Ralph did.
In
No,
his
Ralph
picture,
didn't
he
have
had
red
red hair. Yes, he did.
Yeah, reddish brown. Yeah.
He
That
had
was
reddish
when
brown.
he was a child.
No,
was
no.
that was a
No,
picture,
that was like
a
his-
photo
that was
from
his
like years
headshot.
ago.
That was his
That wasn't a recent
headshot.
photo. And
No,
on
that was
top
just
of that,
Evan Peters.
and then on
Out
top
of
of that,
makeup.
But
right.
my point is, wait.
Episode
the
4.
silver
But wait a
hair
minute, that was
though
a
is
face
very
shot. But wait.
specific.
Not
He
just
had
that, but
silver
it had
hair.
like the black tips, just
Yeah,
like
silver- he
like
looked
that
just like
version
him.
of Pietro.
Everything
had.
except for his face.
Yeah.
So if she knew that if she knew
Okay,
those
but at the-
things, if she knew those things, then isn't it fair to assume that she had seen him? Because you have to remember, everything that happened was televised. All the stuff that the Avengers been doing has been televised. Period. So him dying,
I'm sure
and
they
she
only
knew he was
televised
shot.
him a blur.
No, and she knew because he said he had holes in his body.
They did
And
see
she
him
even
because
knew he
there was
got
footage of
shot.
him- There was footage of him
Okay,
in
all right.
in
Let me at least answer the other half of the question, because you also made because Ricky made a comment about,
They know who
I
he
well,
just
why
figured
is
it
he,
out.
none of his family, asking about him. Remember, Chu came and told Monica that none of his friends or family remember who he was.
Oh yeah.
So
When?
that's why.
When did that happen?
Part of the spell, because like
And
the
they
cops
wasn't.
were
And on top of that, they weren't even in the hex.
Yeah,
That's
but they
the
were
weird part.
orphans anyway.
the cops standing right in front of the
No.
sign
No one
swore
would know
up
who
and
he
down
is
that that
anyway.
city didn't
Like,
exist.
the-
So part of the
like,
hex
there
was
was
that
East
people
View and
outside of
Westview,
it.
and like
That's
no one
true.
knew about
That's
Westview.
true.
Part
And
of the
that's fine,
hex
like,
is that people
if you're
outside of it
asking
forgot
me,
about the people in it.
I agree. I don't. My issues are really more with why couldn't they have, like, as the writers got together and they wanted to have this big oh shit moment where they brought back Quicksilver. Why not just use the actor that used him and explain it by the fact that Agatha made him look like this actor?
Maybe
And then
that's
after, because Monica had this, the only person in the whole city that had
That's a
that, like,
necklace.
and Monica, when she pulled out that necklace, we could have just seen a whole glamour and a whole different motherfucking person, and we would have been like,
Okay.
oh shit, it's a glamour.
Maybe the
You know-
actor
but
didn't
you know
want to
what?
do it, or did
Exactly.
Maybe the
Number
actor
one.
did, which is
or
fine,
they
which is
didn't want-
fine.
You know, he was
Yeah.
asking for more than.
But
they
I
wanted to
doubt
give
he
him.
I doubt he didn't want it. He didn't want that Disney check.
Well,
but I
maybe he
mean,
was asking
Or
for more
maybe
than
he
they were
didn't
willing
have
to
the
probably
time
didn't
for it.
ask
And then
him.
they just said, boom. That's
Aaron
it.
Taylor Green ain't doing it. If
Disney's
Evan
gonna
Peters,
do this.
if Evan Peters booked them
So,
busy ass could have did it, then so could
Well, you don't
Aaron
know
Taylor.
that.
I'm just
Okay,
I mean,
but I want to look at this question right here
Because
though.
how
He
long
probably. He probably came back after everyone else returned from Thanos. I
No,
know
he
it
didn't.
might not be relevant, but I wonder if any of those people were in the blip.
All of them
Like-
could have been, because
Anyway.
even
Like-
she was.
Yeah, any number of them
But-
could have been. Yeah.
But
also
Silver
like,
wasn't in the blip though.
but
Oh,
not
he
in,
was
but
dead.
He's already
like,
dead.
but maybe not Quicksilver, but maybe Ralph was. But also though, like, what about the fact that, like, what was I thinking? Holy crap! I was just thinking about this. Like when you see when Wanda like initially comes to Westview, like you see those characters, but, like the city itself looks pretty dead.
Yeah, it does.
Like
It
like
does-
I
it did
like
look dismal.
right like were these people like just living in this like dead end town, like legit living in this dead end town,
That's what it looked
or
like.
like
Mhm.
or like
like,
they
how
just
is
maybe
anyone
have been
surviving
passing
here?
through
Like, what you mean?
and like they just happen to get stuck in the hex.
Mm.
Like,
No,
I think
they
some of them
they,
could have
they
been
I
lived.
passing
feel like it's
through.
just like a little pocket of like.
Maybe
little
maybe it's
pocket
a
of
mixture of
reality
both. But, like
that's
I
just
thought about
I
that. I'm
agree.
like
It
because,
could have
like,
been a mixture of
now-
both, like people visiting their family and they got
especially
stuck
because
there.
it has like that.
or like but what if
feel,
somebody was just driving
you know.
through like Westview was just something you just drove through to get to another place and like it just so happens to be during the time that Wanda's there and next thing you know you stuck.
That's
No,
possible.
No, because
But are you
like
saying, wait? Are you saying that explains Ralph, or are you just
I
saying
don't
in
know.
general?
I mean in general, look,
He
like, I
had
have
bills.
questions about
Ralph
that. 'cause,
lived
like,
in.
that
Listen. Ralph
Yeah.
lives in Westview. They proved it when
Right.
she looked at his bill. Like
Agatha's house was Ralph's house.
Ralph's house.
Ralph
Right,
was the
yes, I
owner
get
of the
that,
house.
but,
But
like,
at the
Agatha.
same time,
but like there's the fact that like that town looks so dead.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out at you though. That's the world that they built in Endgame. So like everything
true.
looked overran, and this takes
Yes.
place immediately after
Yes.
the snap
Immediately
happened. So I mean, this is
I remember
that's,
like when
that's the
Ant-Man
world
finally
this
came
is
back.
in. Yeah.
Like when Ant-Man made it back and like they realized he
which
wasn't
is
really
good
part of the blip.
continuity on
Yeah,
their part.
that's true.
Which is
That's
great.
true.
Because this is
continuity
like
on their
days
part.
later, right?
Yeah,
This is
I
like
thought
days
that was
At least a
after
week or two.
the blip.
no, this is 3 weeks after the blip.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's after,
Well, still.
Yeah, because this is after like a
It's
couple
ve-
weeks after
yeah,
Endgame.
I was just giving.
I think I'm just
The only
Because
reason
it's
why they
after
brought
Thanos.
to confirm
Mhm.
that, yeah, the only reason why they confirmed that is that 3 weeks later, Monica came back to Sword.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Right.
So I want to talk about what Destiny said before speaking of Monica. Let's talk about how we felt about Monica's involvement in the finale.
Okay.
Now,
Want it more.
I have
Not
a
enough
comment.
of her.
I have a comment. Well, I feel the same as a fan of Tiana Paris and as a fan of that character. However, I'm glad that they did it. This is why. We needed this episode to be about Wanda. We needed it. Because of because of what I think they're setting up in the future. Also because of every story like this, whether it was a Thor movie, this, that, and the third, they let the side characters get like a moment, but the focus is on the main character. Even Vision had fighting, but his fighting wasn't the fighting that Wanda had. So if we're so then my question is this: who would Monica be? Really, there's two things. I have two, and I'm gonna stop talking. First of all, who would Monica fight? Who would Monica fight to show off these powers? One, and the other thing is this: you know, the issue I have with Captain Marvel was that we got exposed to her power way too rapidly, and I think with Monica, they're giving us tidbits so that now when we see her in the movie, we get to watch her discover her powers, and I love that because. I'm glad we don't have to have this whole moment where Monica's like, oh my God, I have power. She's like, okay, I walked through that wall and now I can do shit. Cool. She's like,
they actually built that just because, like the whole thing with Darcy being like, okay,
right.
Hey, you've gone through this thing like twice now. Like your genetics have changed, girl. Like
and I like that Monica's
thing,
I like that Monica's just like, you know what, I'm gonna stand in front of these bullets and see what happened. And when she went through, she didn't have this moment of going like, oh my God. She was just like, yep, did that.
Yeah.
So
I think part of it is also just having been so close to Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? Like growing up and things, she's just very already kind of, you know, she's already like.
It's not impossible.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things aren't impossible. Exactly. She's like, let me test my boundaries.
I don't think her. I think the point was she didn't know that those bullets just passed through her. I think the purpose was that she was sacrificing herself to save the kids.
Yes. But then, like, even after it happened, she never had this moment anywhere in the script where it's like, let me reconcile with my. And that's such a trope to me.
Yeah, she didn't have a what the fuck was that?
Yeah, like, and I kind of like that because usually we always have this moment where the person has to like put it together, and she's like, no, I mean, I put it together.
Like,
I walked through that goddamn wall. I'm seeing weird shit.
But
okay,
she's been valid from the very beginning because like she's dealt with Captain Marvel and like she's whatever they've been dealing with Sword, like it's not like brand new to her. And then she's like, okay, I've been gone through this hex a couple times, so yes, my genetics thing. Okay, cool. Whatever happens gonna happen, and we're gonna deal with it. And I'm gonna do what I need to do to make sure this is right because she's been all about like, okay. What I loved about her was that like, okay, yes, Wanda is the problem. And when she said it too, Wanda's also going to have to be our solution. Here. Right. So like whatever we need to do, we need to quit antagonizing Wanda and figure out what we need to do to fix this.
And I also like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, because like that's like I like that about her character. Like she's a go getter, and like she's well aware of like what's out there, and she's not afraid of it, and she's gonna do what she needs to do regardless.
I also like how she responded to the Kree alien. Because when the lady turned into the alien, Monica didn't flinch.
She was like, hey, y'all, I haven't seen y'all in a minute.
She didn't. I'm just saying, and I just love that, like, Monica, like, I'm glad that we don't have to have another origin story where the character has to, like, come to terms with the world. It's just like, no, I'm good. Like, let's fight.
Like, she literally grew up with this shit.
You know what? And all of this speaks to, like, this ties to my thoughts on what you were talking about, like, with the theories, too. Like, sometimes I forget how long game Marvel is playing, though. Yes. So, like, I still think a lot of those theories are going to be true. They just aren't true here. Yeah. You know, I think Monica is going to end up being the lead in one of the Disney shows, and this was just setting her up.
I really appreciated her post credit scene. Like, yes, we're gonna get some more of her. She's not going to disappear. We're gonna get more of her. And like, I appreciate the long game for Marvel. Like, but this series right here, like, it was standalone, but it was also like I can set you up for the next thing and get you invested for what's coming up next.
Like, I still say the Darkhold is absolutely how they're introducing Blade. That's the purpose of putting the Darkhold in that. That's like, why it was the Darkhold.
This is why I disagree. If we're to believe that witches just exist, we don't get explained it. No one ever talked. They just exist. Kind of the same way when we found out about magic with Doctor Strange. They didn't explain how these sorcerers existed. You have to realize before this.
No, they do. They do.
No, they don't talk about like how they came to exist. They're like, first there was nothing, and then there. Okay.
No,
so at the end of the day,
Doctor Strange then.
No, they didn't. They talked about their role, but they didn't say how they came to exist.
They did better they did better with Agnes because everybody knows about the Salem witch trials.
But my point is, you still don't get explained how witches exist.
You're saying they don't need to give an explanation for why vampires exist,
right?
No,
and I agree with you. I had spoke about that with the Darkhold last time. but Blade has been like the guardian of the Darkhold. He's held it to like the Darkhold is very tied to Blade.
Okay.
He is the person who hides it from everybody else for very long stretches of Marvel.
So at least with the expectation of witches,
Okay,
like
wait,
yes,
see,
like
then I
it's
agree
not
with
too-
you. Then
You're right.
No,
No,
I
I,
agree
don't
with
think
you.
I don't think they do. They don't do explain sorcerers. They do like explain their purpose, I suppose, and how far back they go, which actually spans so far through time that, to be honest, their origin is almost impossible to really divine. But
Right.
but they're like how they interact with the universe and the Marvel universe. They do explain all of that. You know what I mean? And their purpose there is
Absolutely.
yeah. They do
Yes.
that, but I don't think you're right. I don't think they do explain exactly like why we have this, like how they were formed. You know what I mean? Things like
Right.
that. But
And that's what I'm saying. There's certain stuff in this universe that we don't have to have explained. And you know what else I think they're going to do that with? Mutants.
Yeah, I think mutants have always been there.
They're just
I think
gonna
they've
give us that.
always been around, and they're
Yeah,
like
that's
Wanda's a
right.
mutant. They're starting to
We're
show
gonna
up. People are
talk
putting
about-
two and two together.
But then I don't think they're gonna make her mutant because we've established she's a witch, which is separate.
trial,
But she is a
No,
mutant
this is
because she
why-
was
this is
born
why-
with her powers. She was
Listen,
born.
another
She was born with her
another
powers.
thing,
She didn't.
because
But
she was
witches are born
them.
with their powers too.
no,
No, they
we have to-
learn
we have to say this.
incantations.
There's
Not
more than
always.
one thing
Some of them
going
are-
on with Wanda, though. Wanda also has a brother that's a twin, right? Now, and I've said this before. Wanda survived the experiments because she was a witch. Let's go with that theory, right?
Right.
But why did Quicksilver survive the experiments?
Yep.
I don't.
He's not a
because
witch.
they were mutants.
Right.
And I think
Because
maybe
he's
that's
a.
the thing.
That's the only thing I can think of. Because he's a
But
mutant.
you know what you said the other day? I'm sorry, when we were talking about it the other day, and you were like, "Oh, maybe this is like them figuring out mutants for the first time and not actually like knowing what they are." So like they're just kind of people who exist in the world,
Right.
they're enhanced people who exist in the world, and then all of a sudden they start to actually be able to categorize
To
them. And, like,
figure it out, yes.
Figure it out.
But
you know,
is it-
Because
but
of the
possible-
Sokovia Accords and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't
But is it
even know
because
if they
of-
need to go that far though. Like
But,
they
like,
could
but
do an episode set in the 80s of a Disney Plus show and have mutants team up with, the first Ant-Man. And they could treat it like they've always been around and Shield's known about it, just the general public doesn't.
And now,
Right.
and also because, like I said, like even in the X-Men movies, in the X-Men universe, Marvel universe, the first mutant was back in Egypt. So
And Sabanur.
and we just didn't know that there were mutants until it became like a more. So it could be something like mutants exist, but now that the world is changing, now they feel more comfortable coming out with it. Like I'm realizing one thing about Marvel is they don't do a lot of unnecessary shit. Like if they're
Everything means something.
if they're gonna explain it, they're gonna explain. They're not gonna do all this unnecessary shit to explain mutants when they can just say they've always been there.
But
And
is
to be
it
honest,
is it
but
possible
that's
like
also
it's not
very
uncommon in
central to-
stories where it's not uncommon in stories where like you have a witch in the family and like it might skip someone like where their powers are maybe like they don't have any or like they're not as gifted.
You're right. That's
like,
not uncommon.
But like, so is it possible like she could just be a witch and he could just be a mutant?
Yeah.
Like is
Wanda's
not
a mutant though. But it's a gene though. The way the gene works is everyone has the gene, right? Now it's
Right.
just whether your gene gets triggered. Not
It's
everyone,
how it
but, like,
manifests.
Yeah,
But
like,
maybe she's
so like
maybe
I
but
mean
maybe
you could
there's
be
a
brother or
witch
sister.
gene and a
Wait,
mutant
me,
gene.
Rakia,
But
me and
that
you
is-
could me and you
Or
could be
they are
brother
one
and
and the
sister,
same,
but
they've heard
at the end of the
of
day,
it.
maybe maybe your thing just never gets triggered.
They
Well-
try to
Right,
be one
and
of
it
the
like
same
it could be like all the women in her line are witches, and like she might the mutant gene can be from dad's side. Like I feel like there's more to it than just like her just being a mutant. I don't know.
We're not
From-
saying
from-
that we're not
I
saying
know,
that
but,
to
like-
rationalize her witch powers. What we're saying is the fact that Quicksilver survived those experiments means that there's a reason because her survival we're attributing to her being a witch. His
Right.
survival is still not explained because it'd be
Right.
different if there were like a bunch of them that survived, but they're the only two
Only
that
one.
survived.
Well, and
So
where
we have to
where I
figure out
want
why
to
he did.
where I want to challenge you, Ricky, a little bit is like what we've seen, not just like Marvel, the comics, but what Marvel Cinematic Universe has presented is that magic is a skill that anybody can learn and harness through study.
Yes.
It was Doctor Strange had to seek it out. The way that he saw it, the way that he learned about the
I didn't think about
ancient one was by seeking out Benjamin Bratt's or not.
Yeah.
The guy from Law and Order,
Benjamin
seeking
Bratt.
out his
Yeah,
character
yeah.
who was
But-
paralyzed and found a way to overcome it. And how did you do that? Oh, I went to the city in this ancient, temple, and they taught me. They taught me
Right,
this
but-
speech.
But my only thing about that is because
Even
like,
Agatha's whole thing was you didn't do the work to learn these powers. You have to study.
Right.
So sorry, go on.
But like my thing with like Doctor Strange is though is like because of what's her name
Sorcerer
the
Supreme.
Supreme like. But like, didn't
the ancient one
foresee this happening? So is it really like him like naturally having to learn this, or was this not fate? And like this
because
it was
I
don't know.
So let me.
It was dual.
Wait, hold up.
Real things because go.
No, you don't know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say both because technically she knew that she was going to teach him. Because remember, she's also very in tune with the flow of time and things like that. And then we also know that in Endgame, because 5 years before she even meets him, she talks about him. She's like, "Oh, he's slated to be our greatest. He has the potential to be the best of us." But I think
we see Doctor Strange look into multiple futures,
trusting the Infinity Stone to him, but instead I give it to you, Bannon, and that's how she gave her that one away. Because I literally just watched that, by the way, guys. That's the only reason why like any of this is like super fresh. But like that's why I said I think, and to be honest, like. As far as like a lot of like witch concepts and things go, they go a lot hand in hand with I guess like the universe and the way that they're kind of unfolding it and then adding science to it and things like that. So really, honestly, they kind of all connect in a way anyway. And like that magic could have always kind of been there. But technically, because it is actually, they show magic even from Thor's perspective and the Asgardian perspective, and they have their, it's all like how you tap into that magic and things like that. Most of the time, mutants are the ones who are able to do so. So, you know what I mean? There's a, she is still a mutant. That's why I'm saying, like, maybe her mutant and magic are kind of coming together in the same thing, where she's naturally apt to use magic because her mutant abilities unlock that in her. Because whereas most of the people have to create that connection, she makes it already because that's her mutant power. You know what I mean? That's what unlocks within her.
I can go with that.
That's what I think.
I can roll with
That's
it.
what I kind of go with as far as like what I go with, as far as what I know of like the concepts of witchcraft and things like that, and then like how I see it kind of unfolding in the Marvel universe. I'm like, okay, I can see where some of these concepts like kind of they're slated in something kind of real in a way, something that we all kind of know of, and then they're finding a way to kind of connect everything. So that's why I say they're kind of one and the same. Like as you say that, I'm like, oh, they're kind of both the same thing. But I'm kind of lost track, sorry.
No,
Sorry,
I'm okay with it. Like I'm totally down. Like I'm all for it. Like I'm along for the like for me. Like as someone that's like I did not read the comic books. Like I will if y'all want to send me some comic books, I will read them. But like I'm one of those that's along for the ride. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying going back and looking at the previous movies and like getting those bits and pieces that they mentioned in WandaVision. And be like, oh, yes, I get it now. Like, these things all really connect. Like, I really enjoy how, like, Marvel's continuity and just, like, the big picture. Like, they're all about the big picture. And, like, you gotta catch all of it. There's so much stuff to catch. Like, you might not even pay attention to it. There's so much to catch.
I forget what this was on. I think it was on, like, the directors roundtable that they had on Disney Plus, where it was like all the Marvel directors just sitting around just chatting about like their experience.
I want to watch it, but I saw it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's good. But one of them is talking about how like Kevin Feige will just show up and be like, okay, this looks great, but I need this character to say this specific line, and he won't explain the reason why. They'll show up on set one day and there will just be a prop there that wasn't there before, and it's like, okay, I need this in frame as much as possible during this conversation, and it's because it's setting up a movie that he has planned like 4 movies down the road, and he's not even like explaining to them.
I think that's still really dope also because like he's driving that ship, but he's still doing it in a way, as an artist I'm talking about, he's still doing it in a way that allows those artists to like he doesn't step on the toes of the directors. So those directors are still the directors are still able to do their jobs and do their movies, and so these movies can still be standalone movies but they still tie into the bigger picture. Like, it is very difficult to do what he's doing, and now he's expanding into TV, and it's risky because if you do it right, this is the smartest thing you could ever do. But you can easily do it wrong, and I think this is the difference between TV. Because the thing we're talking about with the Evan Peters thing, I don't care how you feel about it, that's a problem. It's a problem. We've never seen anything like that in Marvel. They always explain themselves. So this was clearly an instance of them going like tongue-in-cheek, hey, audience, you know. But it's funny because a lot of audience members are, after seeing the resolve, are like, we didn't need that. You could have just had the regular actor do it. And then we would have still been just as excited. We would have been even more excited because then we would have thought it was real. If he showed up and if it was the actual actor that played Quicksilver, we would have thought that somehow he actually was alive. And we would have went with that. So when we found out he wasn't alive, we would have been a lot more devastated because we would have felt, you know what I'm saying? So there's just all these things that they could have done. And because they did that, it kind of, I'm be honest, I've been talking to people on the internet, I've been watching stuff, it kind of takes away the trust that they've established over the last 10 plus years. For some people, maybe not for everybody, maybe not for everybody, but some people feel like you've never done that to us, Marvel, because anytime you set us up for something, there's always a good payoff, and that's the first time we feel like you tricked us.
I have a... Go ahead, Ricky. I'm sorry.
So like after reading a lot of people's reviews and thoughts, like I think, and maybe because this is the first time like I'm like from the get-go invested.
You from the ghetto? I know.
No. Shut your damn mouth, Duryea. Anyways.
I see.
But like the way that like the theories that abounded from just like the few episodes of WandaVision, like I feel like some people were like really invested in their theories. Like people were probably really invested in the fact that like Evan Peters was going to be the introduction to the mutants and the X-Men, and like these things didn't pan out, and they're like, well, shit, fuck, I hate this finale now. I think that people were really invested into their theories and what was supposed to happen, or what they were expecting to happen within this 9-episode series, as opposed to what's supposed to happen throughout whatever this phase is supposed to be.
Remember, there's always still time. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is the beginning of the phase again before you know it.
Like this is technically the beginning of phase 4. So. Like there's so much that they could be doing and planning from now until that last production of something of phase 4. But like I think people were like so invested to whatever their theories were supposed to be for WandaVision that like when these things didn't pan out in this relatively short period of time, that it wasn't what they wanted, so therefore they didn't like it.
Okay, but really important here is that people just should not lose hope, because there's always so, you know what I mean? The universe, the Marvel universe is, first of all, immense. Second of all, they have nothing. They're planning to do nothing but decades worth of content. This is nothing but fucking cash cows for them. Of course,
decades and there's so many versions of it.
Look at just the pure joy that it gives us to fucking sit here and talk about it and theorize about it is enough. That's money for them, but still, it's whatever enjoyment we get out of it as well. You know what I mean? But still.
Shang-Chi is finally explaining the 10 rings, which was from the first Iron Man movie, you know? So, I mean, they do have... I doubt they had this planned at that point, but they have a long game, and even what they don't have planned, they have enough time to figure it out later.
Exactly, and they have so many other things that they can kind of go back and retcon. And not only that, remember, I was going to say...
What's up, Mike? Mice? Sorry. Mice? What's up?
Mice. Yo... But they play a lot of fanfare. Always just remember they also play a lot of fanfare. So they listen to what chatter we put out there. You know what I mean? They say, and then they kind of adapt where they can and when they can. So for example, I was just watching Endgame, and like here they are talking about Captain Marvel's ass, and I was like, that's funny because when Captain America. But I was like, you know, it's funny because just the movie before, everyone had like, you know, made a big deal about it on the internet for like a hot minute, and then here they are now kind of pointing out at it in the very next movie, that in the next installment where we see him, and I'm just like, okay, that's funny. I like that, but it just remember they're also being conscious of what we're saying as we're saying it in real time, and they're trying to add that in there, because obviously they want to sell these things, so they're going to listen to what we're saying and what we're interested in, what it is that we want to see, what we get excited about. Those are the things that they're going to start to gravitate towards putting promotion into, So, for example, here we are, Captain Marvel, and we're like, oh, we're kind of sad we didn't see her as much, and we still don't see her as much, but I'm like, but remember, she also has not been well received, and that's enough for them to not put her in there enough. You know what I mean? I think they should just redeem her, in my own view, but, they're also going to make, what pays the bill, so.
You know what? The 2 minutes that she was in Endgame, she was so much better than she was in her entire movie, I felt.
Well, I mean,
like that take on her was so much better.
But her movie was just to kind of build up to that, because I think at the end of her movie, she became the woman that we saw in Endgame. You know what I mean?
What's interesting?
She was growing into that woman.
What's interesting is they actually filmed all of the Endgame stuff all of her Endgame stuff before they made the Captain Marvel movie. So they hadn't even figured out the character for the Captain Marvel movie yet. That was 100% their take on her.
This just feels just a little bit more origin story, and they just kind of condensed her really quick to put her in there because they knew that they were already introducing her, as this entity. But
okay, so let's talk about something else. I want to talk about. Not that. I mean,
transition though. Well phrased. All right, enough of this crap.
So we can always circle back, but I like to hop around. So let's talk about the implications of the final episode specifically and everything that happened with the Scarlet Witch. Let's get into some nice the Scarlet Witch theories. So I'll start.
BRB.
Okay, so I'll start. So, for me, first of all, as a big witch fan, I love witches and stuff like that. So, I thought it was so satisfying to, introduce the witch thing. I love that line where she's like, I'm not a witch. No one taught me how to do spells. You got the wrong person, right? But then by the end of it, she was like, all right, bitch, thanks for the lesson. Thanks for the lesson, ho. Yes. She said, okay, I'm a witch. That's what I'm saying. I really love the fact that they're not doing this. They have those moments where it's like what you're saying is weird and this is, but then instead of living there and having to convince this character, the character's like, you know what, I'm gonna embrace it. So I feel.
But that's always been very Wanda.
I feel like,
That's always been very Wanda, especially because remember who her father. Well, no, actually.
No, I'm talking about her and Captain Marvel. Instead of her mincing around with it, she's like, you know what, this woman saying this, she said it to me enough. She done come after my family. You know what? Maybe she's got something right. So she did the runes thing. Now, that was epic. That was one of the most epic reveals. Because I'm sitting here thinking, this is not like Wanda. It is not even if Wanda didn't want the power, Wanda's never going to get, Wanda's never, ever in her experience on this entire format, ever been in a position to give away her strength.
Right.
Ever. So I was I was watching it, I was like, all right, make it make sense. When she started giving it away, I was like, all right, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Right.
So
you're not gonna take my family away from me unless it's I know it's what's gotta be done.
And I'll say this though. Now the one thing that I had me questioning, and it even worked on me, I was questioning, would she give up her power to save her family? Yes. But does she trust this hoe? No. Wanda don't trust this hoe. So I was like, all right. So when Wanda started giving her power, I was like, make it make sense. And when she tried to do that spell and nothing came out, I immediately was like, oh shit, what happened? I was like, I'm thinking, I'm all charmed and stuff. I was like, ooh, I was like, Wanda tainted her magic or something. But that's
she couldn't handle whatever
or something had. Like that. But instead, Wanda she gets her healing back. And I'm like, whoa, what's happening? Bossing up. And then I saw the runes. I was like, yo!
The runes were great setup and payoff. That was fantastic.
Yes. You better apply what you learned, ma'am.
Yes.
I want an application here. Yes.
And what it also lets you know is that she's a quick fucking study. Because you realize, you know what I love about Marvel? They set it up so well. Let me show you the two setups. The first setup was in the room when the first time she encountered the runes. The second setup was a little more subtle. Wanda has never once teleported. Never once teleported.
You're right. You're right.
But once she saw Agatha do it, she
copied it.
Boom.
Like, bitch, I can do that too.
So that was the second setup, letting us know, oh, Wanda doesn't need a lot of explanation. She
That's
just
good.
needs
the
to think
thing
about
is,
it.
like,
a key thing
the-
about Wanda's
Agnes was. I'm
and
sorry.
the difference
Agnes's
between
problem was that she was technically hyping her up, in while she was doing all her talking, her tickety talk,
Right.
all her tickety talk. She was technically hyping Wanda up. Oh, you should be able to do this. Like, you're supposed to destroy the world.
That's
okay,
true.
well, but if
But
that's
Wanda,
the case, then
like Wanda told her, Rakia, you ain't got to tell me who I am.
who I am.
Also, but
You don't have to tell me. Go ahead,
Okay,
Julian.
well, if you say that, I'm gonna
Julian
do
been
it.
trying to talk for like 5
No,
minutes.
I'm sorry,
I
Julian.
really just thought of it because we were just talking about how like Wanda like she only gets her magic through study and things like that. But honestly,
Not only.
not only that's my point. Wanda's actual like mutant power is technically chaos magic, which is entirely different from like high magic, which is technically what like Agnes is like learning, which is like magic that you manipulate, you learn to do. You know, that's entirely different.
Wanda
And also-
teleported in Age of Ultron? When? Receipts, Shantasha. Receipts.
Oh, at the end, at the very end.
When? I want receipts, Santasha. I need you to pull up a YouTube. I need receipts.
I need a gift. I need a
But
gift.
my
I
point
need
is
a-
this.
Could have,
My
but I
point
feel
is
like
this.
She did it just more like
I
this,
need a
but that's the
timestamp.
point.
I get
Her
what you're
magic
saying,
kind of works
Julian.
It's chaos magic. It works just more, you know. She
Right,
has
and
an
chaos
intent,
magic-
and it just does it however it wants to do it, not necessarily how she wanted
like
it done.
expression.
You can exactly.
Right.
So
Intent is a big thing about Wanda's powers. It's really her limits. And I said this to somebody on one of the streams I've done over the past friggin' week. Is I said the thing about Wanda's powers is that I was comparing them to Captain Marvel because the thing about Wanda's power and how the writers, it was geeking out. And I remember because me and Mo were arguing about it. The way about Wanda's powers that they've done is her limits have only been what she thinks she can do. But every time she wants to do something, she does it. When she wanted to kill Thanos, he was on his way to Death Town. Simply because she wanted it, right? So that's what I think is interesting about how
Power
they're
of
doing
grief, though. Whew.
how they're doing this thing with her character where they're slowly introducing us to more and more. So let's talk about that after scene. So the very last thing we saw from her was her powers going out of this world. Astral projection now. You can project. There can be.
Is that what that was though?
Well, you have to realize Doctor Strange. She's stronger than Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
So it's either astral projection or multiplication. Because I was watching in Avengers. In Avengers, Doctor Strange multiplied himself and lashed a bunch of leeches on. So if she's stronger than him, then she should be able to do that.
Yes, but we haven't touched on the Nexus being yet, which I think is what this is about.
They introduced her being a Nexus being in episode 6 or 7.
Yes, they introduce it, but then they don't do anything with it.
Yes,
so I'm saying
that's the seed.
For us though, for us. Okay, hold up. I'm excited. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking that's a multiverse thing.
Wait, so
that's a multiverse thing at the.
So the first time we hear about the Nexus thing. Wait. So the first time we hear about the Nexus thing was in episode 7 or something. One of the commercials.
The commercial, yeah,
the commercial.
Those
Now,
were great. Yes.
tie back into Dormammu because she's a Nexus being. She exists on all the planes that he exists on too.
Also, remember he exists.
Which goes into I know Mo said that Kang the Conqueror is a villain. Now, I will say that for sure, Kang the Conqueror is a villain. He has been cast. I don't think he's the villain. Just like this. This is why I don't think that. Because, I'm going to go look this video up and I'm going to find it.
Right.
And then she said, "You're welcome." Santasha, don't do me on this internet.
I think they're going to do
me and Santasha went to high school together. Don't do me.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he's.
And I don't think Kang the Conqueror is the biggest bad.
And to be honest, you bring in Fantastic Four. You can bring in Fantastic Four easily here because here you're talking about going to Dormammu, who dwells technically in space, in a negative part of space. It's reachable.
No, he's in another dimension. He's not in the negative part of space. He's in a whole different dimension.
Okay, so a Nexus being is somebody who can access alternate realities and alternate.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I gotta watch this video and then I'm gonna bring it back to y'all. I'm gonna bring it.
Can you pull it? Can you pull it up?
I'm gonna pull it up once I watch it.
Well, no.
And find what she's talking about.
Can you just screen share?
Well, no, because I don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right.
I gotcha.
No, because I'm watching it right now too. Sorry, y'all.
I don't see no shit teleporting.
All I see is.
I see. Wait. Hey, I'm watching it. What? Y'all keep talking.
Is there
and I see it.
I want to talk about Vision.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
we're talking about Vision of color or White Vision.
both.
All of it.
At the point when they're both sitting there, I thought for a second they were gonna like meld together and become one.
And they're like,
I thought
too,
that,
to be
and I
honest
kind
with
of got
you.
a little excited, and then that didn't happen. So what happened to White Vision? Where did he go?
He's out in the world because our vision of color cannot exist outside the hex, and so I don't know.
He has to say.
I need further explanation how he was able to like not like mess with his stone, but like unlock the original Vision's memories and thought process for him to be like, I'm the real Vision. Therefore, this whatever this thing was sword is not my ministry. So I need to go on and do something else. Like I need to figure out what that's about. So I'm excited about that.
So this pulls like straight from the West Coast Avengers comics, and this was like it was probably 10 years of Vision was rebuilt by the government to be a weapon, and he was the White Vision. And over the course of about 10 years, it was Wanda reintroduced his humanity to him by making her understand that he can experience love and blah 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 and that kind of stuff. So I mean, they're kind of setting that up.
Are they able to bypass that now that like this Vision that is really like she said, her love and the part of the mindset that's her? Like he's technically done that now. He's introduced that. He's opened his third eye now.
I don't think he's all the way there.
His third eye is open now.
He's unlocking bits and pieces, probably. But
Santasha, no, boo. She does not teleport in that. Give me a timestamp. She said start at 119. I don't see no teleport.
No, because there's no teleporting because she's just in his head.
Yeah, she just creeped up behind him. That's not the teleport.
Like she's
she did like you're talking the speed maneuver that she does, where she's like shows up and to his head.
Right.
Yeah, that's
but
not
there's
teleporting.
No teleport. She doesn't. The way she teleports.
She did the same move to Agatha in this episode, where she like speeds up.
Because she's in the because she was.
Which, by the way, that was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing because I was like, you better go back to the beginning. Look, bitch, you don't know about me, Agatha. I got tricks on my sleeve. Let me go back to this weapon, my number one weapon on your ass. Yo.
Hey, I got a question.
Because Iron Man was so for this particular scene. So this is if you're wondering what this particular scene is, this is from Age of Ultron. And the Avengers are in Sokovia, and like most of them are outside. Tony's actually like the one that's inside the building where Hydra has been in, doing the experiments with the twins. And so like I'm assuming like the twins have still been inside this building. Besides maybe except for like Pietro, he probably speed out in between.
It's the end of the cold open, yeah.
Right. So I don't think she had to teleport. She was probably just still in there regardless.
No, she didn't teleport, but
she didn't have to teleport.
I know exactly what scene you're talking about. She didn't teleport.
Yes, the speed moment. Because I don't know, she can do that. I don't know why they never explained it, but she can do that. But that's different than Santasha. When we're talking about her teleporting, just to be clear, so not Wanda. What's her name? Agatha was standing on top of the roof, and she teleported.
Poof there.
She teleported, and then she showed up somewhere else. She poofed on top of the roof, and then poofed up somewhere else. Yeah. Wanda has never done that ever until when she was flying. Y'all did see the flick of the wrist? She said, and I was like, oh shit. So Wanda teleports.
That's that finesse.
Wait, who just tongue popped?
Huh?
Who just tongue popped?
Right. No. Okay. So
you?
like.
Yep.
So Elizabeth Olsen.
I be doing my tongue ups.
Elizabeth Olsen. Shout out to the youngest Olsen child. But like,
is she the youngest?
Yeah, she's the youngest.
Rakia, what's in your cup?
Don't do me like that.
I can always tell. You ain't got to tell me. I already know what's in the cup.
What's in my cup?
Either wine or a beer.
No, you're wrong.
What's in the cup then? What's in the cup?
It's a pineapple ginger margarita.
Oh, okay. I knew it was something with a little alcohol.
Anyway, no, but what I'm saying is Elizabeth Olsen gave Scarlet Witch so much finesse. Like, we talked about this, like, prior to the show. So much finesse with the fingers and stuff with the wrist and just how she, like, casts. Like,
you know what? Rakia, the part that
it.
got me was like, because when you think about the Scarlet Witch, she's very powerful, but she's also she has her moments. When I say she's reasonable, like the stuff that ticks her off is real intense stuff. It's not like she get mad at everything. Like
she was antagonized
my whole family
for a
is.
good
Well, it's like when my whole family is dead. Yes, that kind of shit makes me flip the fuck out. But I'm talking about general. She's this very like the last 5 minutes of her when she like brought the thing down. And then she put her hood on and walked away. There was literally just the scene where she walked out of that house, the lot. Her embodiment of the. I was like, now we finally have the Scarlet Witch. We finally have the comic, and I really love that. Talk about a slow burn. Getting her from the first Age of Ultron and taking her through all this stuff to now, and then with the outfit. Yeah. And then with the and then like just
the
totally
embodiment, like,
just totally like, being like, you know what, this is who I am.
Source material.
You know what? Speaking of her acting, though, I want to go back to an earlier scene that was just freaking fantastic, and I'm trying to remember what episode it was. It was, I think, the '80s episode. It was the episode where Vision first like does the mind thing to Ned, and Ned's freaking out
that
like,
was actually like the third episode.
Make her stop. Whatever episode it was, but
like
at
second or third episode.
At the end of that episode, where Vision confronts Wanda and is like, "Where are the children? What are you doing? You're lying to me." That scene. So it starts out where they start powering up when they're arguing, and it's like going to go into like a superhero fight scene.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
And then all of a sudden, it just turns into a scene about a husband and wife fighting, and it's just the writing and the acting, and the way that they acted in that scene was like that was freaking fantastic.
I agree. I think
I just wanted to rant about that for a second.
One thing about this whole adventure was like y'all really did come in and really just like because y'all got that Disney money, y'all changed the face of television in a way where it's like, well, you know, because okay, what's happening is what we're seeing is this, right? So movies have become too expensive because people aren't going to when I say too expensive, to make a good movie, you're probably making something like Marvel anyway, because a lot of people aren't going to theaters to see a lot of this stuff, especially because there's so much stuff accessible at home via Netflix, Apple Plus, all those streaming services, right? So what you're seeing is, it happened like maybe 10 years ago, maybe not, yeah, a little bit more than 10 years ago, where all these big name actors and actresses started doing stuff on TV, and they had never been doing TV. Angela Bassett has a TV show, for goodness sake, right? Yeah. So then after that,
which is funny because
better writers started going to TV too. But what you have to realize is, so then back then the TV formula was 24, 22 episodes a season, right?
The Sopranos changed the TV world.
Well, a lot of these. I'm not saying one show has changed it. What I'm saying is this show. This is this show's contribution. So since that, you've seen shows' lengths go different. Like you've seen 8 episodes, 13 episodes. That's the average length, or like 16 episodes. But the point is to tell that good story. People don't really care how many episodes it is, as long as you get that good story in here. What Disney just did was they said, we can take a movie and make all the best parts of that movie and just make them awesome. This is not a TV show. This is not a movie. This is not even a limited series. People can call it that, but it's not that. It most closely lines up with limited series, but this is more than that to me, because it felt like I was watching a movie.
Okay, so
it didn't feel like a limited series. It actually felt like I was watching a feature-length film, and I sat through all 6 hours of that motherfucker.
It relates a lot to a lot of Netflix shows and stuff like that. Like a lot of Netflix documentaries.
I disagree.
That are 4 parts. They're quote unquote 4.
I still disagree. This is different to me.
You know what I mean?
I think it's different.
My point is that they've taken something that technically was just like an hour, 2 hour long documentary, and they turned it into a 4-part fucking show. Series kind of a thing.
Turn it into a Zack Snyder cut.
It's kind of done here, you know what I mean? They've taken a movie and they've like highlighted all the best parts, and they just kind of like, okay, how can we build a little bit more on this to make this into like an actual episode, and then make these episodes.
Here's a big FU to every single person that watched 1 or 2 episodes and was like,
nope, not me.
because you shot yourself in the foot. Because honestly, I don't like spoilers. I was planning to binge this. I'm actually happy that because once the Evan Peters thing got spoiled for me, I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna let them ruin this. If it means I have to watch it when it comes out, I'll just watch it when it comes out. I'm so happy that I did because it allowed me to live in the experience that they wanted. Let me tell you why. All of these streaming shows, they generally just come out. They don't do them release week by week. They wanted us to experience this in that way. They built it for it to be experienced in that way because they also wanted us to enjoy this kind of shit. Right?
The theory crafting is so, even when it's wrong, it's a freaking blast.
But they
knew
that's
to
the
it. But they
fun
love
part
to
of it.
listen
Like
to
it is.
They love to listen to it.
They wanted us. No, it's not. It's not only that they love to listen to it. They know that part of the fun for us is the theory craft. Even when we're wrong, we love this shit. And they, like I'm telling you, Marvel, they know their motherfucking fan base. They know their fan base, and their goal is to make us happy. And I think that's why it works because
They put a fan in charge. That's
I
the
think
thing.
a lot of times, I think a lot of times it's
Marvel.
like. I think a lot of times the goal is, oh, let's make this money, or look. But I think somebody said, you know what, bro? If these motherfuckers out here are happy,
let's tell a damn story.
We'll make the money. And now they're really focused on us. They're like, look, we know these kids, these adults that are act like kids. We know what they want to see. We know what's gonna get them hyped. Like that Runes moment, bro. They knew that everybody everywhere who was following that was gonna literally scream out loud. Stand up and yell at the TV. Yes, bitch! Yes, cast the rune!
You know what? The runes is like a thing. Like the runes. There was a couple of moments. Something that was really cool with this show is that these movies more and more have gone to the point of like explosions in the sky and everything is resolved by good guys punching bad guys, and they've gone to that more and more. And I love that they kept setting that up. And then they do a twist on how they resolve things. You know, like the fires in the sky and then the plot twist of the ruins. It's you're absorbing my magic, eat a car. It's Vision is punching and fighting this guy. Okay, we're going to have a logical debate to see if your objective is even possible. You know, it just kept doing these smart, clever, like conflict resolutions that I did not see coming every single time.
And you know what's great about it, Matt? Some of the conflict resolutions that we didn't see coming, we totally should have seen coming. Point in case.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you just mentioned, her throwing that car at that bitch. If there's one thing Wanda Maximoff is gonna do, she's gonna throw a car at your ass.
Yeah. She does that at everybody. She throws a car at everybody.
And so when it happened, when they threw the car, I was like, of course, yes, bitch, throw a car.
You know
you
what?
don't know who you fucking with. I'm Wanda Maximoff.
The biggest, of course, moment for me, I feel so dumb in hindsight. Project Cataracts. Turns your eyes white and obscures your vision. Cataracts.
Oh, my, yo, that's what I love about this because literally you can watch it like 8 times and be like, oh, and you know some of it is
so obvious in hindsight.
What I like about their Easter eggs is it's like, okay, we're not gonna explain like half of these ever. If you get them, you get them. If you don't, you don't. Like them showing Stan Lee's birthday on the license
I missed
plate.
that one.
There's a license plate on the episode. It's the episode.
Zoom in on it, right?
It's the episode like 7, the one where they do like the Modern Family / Malcolm in the Middle spoof episode. And in the beginning, you just see a bunch of things that say Wanda, like in Wanda, and one
like
of them
the
is a
office
license.
opening.
Yeah, one of them is like a license plate. And the number of the license plate, it says Wanda, the license plate, but above the number, it's got 12/28/22.
2800, yeah.
It's 12/28/22, and that's Stanley's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's like, look, he couldn't be here, but he's here. Like,
I know,
and that for us is a big deal.
Yeah,
that for us is a big deal. Like, we have to find a way to make sure Stan Lee is part of it. And they knew we were going to catch that.
Keep an eye out for it because, you know what?
Yes.
In all the future movies, we're probably going to see his
something
birthday.
like that.
Something that's going to really coin off to him.
That reminds me of like the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. And they had like, I think that was like probably one of like his last things he did.
That's such a charming movie.
Like,
I haven't seen
the
it.
whole movie's so good.
Oh.
You haven't seen Spider-Verse yet?
I haven't seen. Let me tell you, I haven't seen Spider-Verse and I haven't seen Far From Home because, of course, Far From Home is the only one that's not on Disney Plus because Sony still owns it, and Sony's like,
right.
I don't even know where I would pay for it. I would actually Sony. Where can I
Netflix
see
probably.
Spider-Man
Give it to
Far
me.
From Home?
Give it
Netflix.
to me.
You
If
know
I
what
could-
though?
Please.
I love
I'm about
Far
to look
From
it up right
Home.
now.
I
I
like
love
that
Far
one.
From Home. But do whatever you have to do to seek out the Spider-Verse because
Yeah.
that movie is the single most
Look,
charming thing I've seen in
look,
years.
Let me tell you
I
what.
love
Every
it.
moment of
My
screen time is
kids love
entertaining.
it. The
This is off
soundtrack
topic.
is dope.
Yeah.
This is off topic, but the reason I want to see Far From Home so bad is because of Jake motherfucking Gyllenhaal.
He is
God.
fantastic.
What?
Oh, my God. Jake
he's in-
Gyllenhaal
wait,
to
he's
me.
in this movie?
Yeah, Far From
Far From
Home.
Home, yeah.
Playing who?
Yeah, he's
Spider-Man Far From
Mysterio.
Home. He plays Mysterio.
Shut your motherfucking face, guys.
It's on Hulu.
So
Stop
obviously,
shit. I'm watching that
obviously
shit
he
tonight.
hasn't
My
watched
life is
this one
complete.
It's
yet.
on Hulu. I'm watching
I
it
broke
tonight.
my fucking
All the things
headphones.
that Julie has not
Look
actually
at-
seen yet.
I can't even. Okay. Oh my
Your
god.
cat
God.
ears broke. I'm
Stop,
sorry.
No, don't go back on because I broke them off already before. But I
Okay.
can't even. Are you fucking kidding me? Jake fucking Gyllenhaal is
Mhm.
fucking playing Mysterio.
Yeah.
Mysterio is like my absolute fucking favorite.
He's
How do you not know this?
fantastic. He's
He is my
fantastic too.
favorite.
How do you?
fucking
How does
Spider-Man
Gary know
villain.
that he hasn't seen it yet, but you don't know this yet?
I cannot even believe I am so.
Look.
fucking-
And I need to see it because know about this multiverse. Now, let me tell you. Oh, it's official. Jake Gyllenhaal. It's not. It's official that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to be in the Spider-Man 3.
Andrew
So-
Molina too.
I think we
Andrew
all love
Molina
Jake
and Jamie
Gyllenhaal.
And
Foxx
Jamie
as well.
Foxx.
Foxx.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Is-
God, I think
wait,
we-
is Andrew the one
So
that's,
is Elizabeth Olsen. She's been confirmed as being in
In
Spider-Man
Spider-Man?
3. Yep.
No.
Yep.
No.
I don't know if it's just a cameo or like
if
popping
Elizabeth
up in
Olsen is
post-credit
in
scene or
Spider-Man
something.
3, she is the big bad, bruh. Even if she's not like the
Okay,
biggest
okay,
big
the
bad,
post-
they're setting her up for the
At least
for
the
the
post
next.
credit.
She's
The
gonna be
post-credit.
no, she's gonna be the next Avengers big bad.
The
But I mean-
post-credit scene from this show, and I didn't get to mention this because we got talking about the video and stuff. She goes into the multiverse. That's what my take was. She was on an alternate universe, and the other Wanda was the local, and she's searching for a universe that the twins exist in, and that's how they're setting up. That's how they're setting up Multiverse of Madness.
I buy that. Yo, your theories are dope. I
Yo,
agree
that's
that
actually
she's
great, yeah.
well, because
That is
if
so
you read the
Wanda.
comics,
That's
if you read the
100%
comics, you know for a fact that at some point, well, first of all, there's White
That's
Vision,
crazy.
and now that White Vision has his memory back, they're gonna get back together. Let's see. But-
she's gonna go crazy because she's trying to get these twins.
Well, no, because she doesn't know. Wanda does not know that White Vision is out there.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
doesn't
she
know.
doesn't. She
She doesn't
doesn't.
even
That's
know.
She
right.
doesn't know where he went.
She doesn't know. She might think about that.
Well,
She's
that's
trying to
All,
put
all, all,
everyone.
all, all,
Well, that's
all,
the
her,
thing now.
all
She's
she knows
lost
that
everyone.
that
She's
that dude
trying to
choke,
get
try to
everyone
choke
back.
her, and then try to fight her actual vision.
Right. Wanda was too busy casting runes to worry about White Vision, right? So White Vision is out there and Wanda does not know. When Wanda finds him, because in the comics, once she finds him again, then she tries to make the babies again. And now knowing more about magic, she's gonna make them permanent, aka Wiccan and Speed, right?
yeah.
But then they're gonna die somehow. And that's gonna cause her to be the big bad. Because
so,
But I don't want them to. I don't think.
well,
they
what
should-
happens is, this is the thing about it. I don't think she's like the biggest bad, but I think she's going to end up being an issue because Mephisto, it turns out, I think it was Mephisto, or there's a demon
Mephisto.
that parts of his soul are these kids that she brings back. So
That's how she brings them back.
it makes them real. So we're going into like, yo, I'm telling you, like, Marvel is not
The
cutting no
thing-
cut
they're-
cards. They're about to
they're-
show us some epic fucking shit.
They're
And that's my people who are hating
magic.
on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. How dare you? Because people hated on WandaVision the first 2 episodes too. Get your
Okay.
life.
Right?
You know what? Falcon and
And here
Winter
we are.
Soldier is
WandaVision's
going to be
amazing.
the X-Men setup.
Be that way.
1,000%.
Why do you think
Which
that is going to be the X-Men setup? I like his theory, so let me hear it.
Okay,
Falcon.
so we already know that this is heavily going to be about like the Weapon Plus program that created Captain America, where that
Wolverine.
went, how that became. Wolverine is the 10th iteration. Weapon X is actually Weapon 10. He's
I
the
hate
10th
Wolverine.
iteration.
Period.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that we know that they're going to Madripoor in the show. A huge part of the show takes place in Madripoor. What Madripoor, even if Wolverine doesn't show up in this show, it is setting Wolverine up because what Madripoor is when Wolverine left the X-Men, he went to the country of Madripoor. posed as Patch wearing an eye patch and got involved with the drug cartels because the drug cartels were like unethical, and he basically took them out in order to put in an ethical drug cartel into power. And that's what Madripoor is.
So I also have to say this. From what I'm reading on the internet, they absolutely are going to introduce the X-Men, but they're not going to introduce them as a whole entity. They're going to introduce any individual characters. Point in case, there's a rumor, and I hope this rumor is not a rumor, I hope it's true, that Anna Diop, who plays Starfire in Titans, has a cameo. She has a cameo in Thor God and Love and Thunder.
Oh my God! If
she has a cameo.
Storm,
now Anna
Storm is one of my favorite characters.
Me too.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now.
Okay, so
And I would love her as Storm.
X-Men.
I'll be right back.
Speaking of, yeah. Okay, so question though, but like I need them to update their graphics on what Phase 4 is supposed to be now, because everything that I'm looking up right now does not have WandaVision first, because that's Phase 4 right now.
Like so much.
Like I need them to update it so I know what I'm looking forward to. Yeah. Because like I get it. I understand. Pandemic, shit's changed. Shit was messed up. So we gotta do something different.
Well,
but
okay,
y'all can give me an outline at least.
Right. This is okay. Hang on. This is another thing with my thoughts on the reason that this is going to heavily set up the X-Men Falcon and Winter Soldier. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be released first, right? And then WandaVision was supposed to come out, and when WandaVision was supposed to end, like the next week, Doctor Strange 2 was supposed to come out. So it was supposed to like immediately set up Doctor Strange 2. Right. They had to refilm parts of Falcon and Winter Soldier because it was dealing with an outbreak of a pandemic.
Right.
And they felt like that was like too touchy. The pandemic was the legacy virus, which is a disease that an upper respiratory infection that infects people who have the X gene, and that is how they were going to introduce mutants. I almost
and
guarantee
that's all
it.
fine and good. I just need to know what to look forward to next. Like I don't need I will get the explanation when the things come out, and I will ruminate over it. Then, but right really now, I want to know what's coming next. I know that Winter Soldier and the Falcon are coming next, but I want to know I need the big picture, what to expect when it's coming out.
No, you don't need the big picture. You know what I realized?
Okay, and I'm sorry, Puppy's going nuts. I'll be right back. I gotta take her out.
Let me tell you why you don't need the big picture. I think that because of the Pan Coco, Marvel had to
Pantene Pro V.
Yeah, they had to maneuver and change things, right? But I think they're using that to their advantage, right? Being that right now we're so hungry for content, unlike before, we don't need a map. We're gonna take that goddamn content, right?
See, and Marvel is what. I'm sorry, we're gonna bring it up, but the way that Marvel has been able to adapt better than DC has. But
DC's problem is that DC, they have no cohesion. Let's be clear.
But
Marvel has a
also,
story. They just don't have
though.
Marvel has a plan. They just don't have to tell us the plan.
Exactly. But and the thing is, they have this plan. And that's the thing though. They had a plan, and then this unexpected thing happened, and they were able to adapt and figure out what they needed to adjust it to make it still cohesive as possible. They haven't
actually able to do that because, to be honest, they were kind of going for the Inhumans at first, and then they kind of really dropped.
Marvel has they have made.
But even then, though,
to adapt well.
They've been able to adapt.
But they do plan still better than DC. I think
right, but
it's not only that they just plan. I think another thing about DC that shoots them in the foot is that they don't trust themselves. Because I don't think they trust themselves. I feel like they're look, let's try these 15 different things and hope they work. Instead of being instead of being yo, no, just this is gonna be awesome, period. Marvel gives me much more of that energy. Marvel gives me the energy of, bruh, no, this is dope. Are you sure? Yes, it's dope. Are you sure? This is dope.
And from what I've heard from other comic fans, as far as lore and storylines, technically DC Comics is top tier for that, but the way that Marvel's been able to translate it into their movies,
so much better.
I don't know where that disconnect happened with DC. Maybe they're too focused on.
I have two responses. Marvel's better. Okay, I'm sorry.
was like maybe they're too focused on like these too many of these iconic characters that they're trying to build too many like they're so focusing on it being so standalone. Like there's plenty of the Marvel movies that could be standalone, but like they're standalone, but they create this whole big story arc that will connect. And like you don't have to watch these other ones. You'll want to though for some of these other ones.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
You want to figure out who
But
you
Marvel
want
has,
to.
things like
but
that.
this is the thing that goes back to the Quicksilver thing for me. This is what Marvel has that DC does not have. They have established trust with their audience. We will go see Ant-Man, even though we don't know fucking shit about Ant-Man.
Right. That's right.
Because they have set up, because they set up with us this contract that says, yo, this is gonna be awesome. I told you, I don't like Captain Marvel. Do I think that movie sucked? No. I loved Captain. I would watch it right now.
Look, I didn't care about Ant-Man
and Captain Marvel. But my point is, like, they set up a contract with us that said, we're going to give y'all epic content no matter what story we tell. And if it's not a fan favorite, we're going to make it a fan favorite because it's going to be awesome. Monica Rambeau is a character that didn't get a lot of light. Now she's on everybody's tongues. DC doesn't do that. DC says, okay, we're going to give you these characters that you know.
And we're going to only focus on the same ones that we always
And we're going to focus on the same goddamn ones all the time.
Right.
It's like,
because we know that those sell. They don't trust themselves.
It's
They know.
we never saw Wanda and
right.
we only saw Wolverine.
They know for a fact. I'm sorry.
Though.
Just one more thing. They know for a fact that Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they know these things are going to sell. So that's all they'll give us. Do you know they're about to make 3 Batman movies in 1 year? I'm like, y'all literally have over 1,000 characters probably. And y'all are giving us another Batman movie? There have been like 10 Batman movies already. Or movies. If they weren't Batman movies, they were his movies or one of his villains' movies. You have literally...
matters.
I'm sorry, Destiny, go ahead, because she ain't said it. Go ahead.
Right.
I was just gonna say I've had enough with the Batman. I mean, give it a rest. Let's do something different.
But let me tell you, I hope I don't piss nobody off. This is the issue with some of these comic book things, and I'm gonna be honest. I was on TikTok, and this man said, telling your sexuality or your sexual orientation based off of your Avenger, that's your favorite. And the first one was Iron Man. You're a straight white man. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
If Iron Man's your favorite Avenger, you're a straight white man, and you cried at the end of it.
Really,
yeah. My point is this. That's DC's problem. They wanna focus on straight white men as their demographic, as if they're the only nerds. But you realize first of all, a ton of nerds are black. There's black nerds that don't even realize they're nerds.
Spend their money on
There's
nerds.
black and brown, LGBTQ. Like, you have to realize, first of all superheroes are fine as fuck. Even if you like LGBTQ people love looking at a dude's package or a girl's tit. Like, we love a nice sex symbol too. Like all the things that you're advertising. But they're not advertising to us because they don't. That's not the goal. So they're giving us Batman so much because straight white boys like Batman.
And Superman because straight white boys love Superman.
No, that's for us.
Well,
Superman's for us. I'm sorry. I feel like Superman is for us. That's why we only got one. That's why we got. No, let me say why.
I think
we only got Man of Steel. We only got Man of Steel. We got like 8 Batman movies. We only got Man of Steel because I do think Superman is a homoerotic superhero. I feel that way. But I feel Batman.
Like at least 2 renditions of Superman.
Really?
2.
Yeah, Superman.
Like,
let me tell you why I feel like
that
that. Superman grew up on a farm. Sounds like the setup to a porno already.
Oh god.
Okay.
Good old farm boy.
Then you had the nerve to cast fine ass motherfucking Henry Cavill.
I love that man.
And you know, with his fine ass, like everybody's showing up. So but to me, the reason they go with Batman because they know that straight boys, especially straight boys, are gonna love Batman. But the thing about it is,
they love Henry Cavill too.
But the difference, that's why Marvel does better because Marvel, even though it took them a long time too, because I'm not saying they're innocent in this, they definitely appeal to straight white men for a long time too. But they are making a point at this point to be intentionally more inclusive. Think about this: there's only 2 black characters in the DCEU: Cyborg, Black Canary.
Yeah.
True.
So I'm just saying.
I feel like there may be actually.
So you're like we're backtracking a little bit. So like to your point about like Ant-Man though, like so to your point about Ant-Man though, like I didn't care about Ant-Man because I didn't know about Ant-Man.
I felt
like,
bad.
Me
but
either.
like,
I
but
got really
but like,
I
but
love
but
that
I
movie.
saw the, but I saw what was it? It was Infinity Wars.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I actually watched something that Ant-Man was Ant-Man.
No,
in Infinity
Ant-Man
Wars?
was in. You talking about
Endgame.
Civil War? You're talking about Civil War.
He was in Civil War and then
No. He wasn't in. No, because he wasn't. Because okay, so
He's
I
on
was
top of
not. I did not care about watching Ant-Man until I watched some other films, and I
Civil
needed
War.
to go.
And
No,
then
because I
watched
hadn't
the
seen
Ant-Man.
Civil War yet. Because honestly, like after the first 2 Iron Mans, I wasn't watching any of it until Black Panther.
Oh wow!
So okay.
She
So
said,
I've
"Fuck
said
that
I've
shit,
said
bro."
this
I'm
on.
shocked.
Okay, so look. I've said this multiple times on multiple episodes. Like I'm not the comic book fan of this
It's more the movie.
because I haven't read the comics. So like I'm watching based off of their cinematic universe. So like I remember watching the first couple Hulks, the one that we don't talk about, and the second one. Right.
That one, yes.
So,
That one.
and, yes. And then I watched the first 2 Iron Mans, and I watched Tobey Maguire's Spider-Mans. Like I was not getting into Marvel stuff until Black Panther, and then Black Panther came the what's his name?
Doctor Strange.
No, not even him, but like the youngest Spider-Man now. What's his name?
Yeah.
Tom Holland.
And-
Tom Holland, yeah.
Tom Holland. Like I watched his Spider-Man and like Infinity Wars and Endgame, and that made me want to go back and watch
And learn.
everybody else's
Everything
stuff.
beforehand, yeah.
So I can really like, cause I loved Infinity Wars. I loved that Black Panther. I love Infinity Wars. I loved Endgame. I need to go all the way back. I think, like, and maybe like the only other one that I really watched besides Black Panther was Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I needed to go back all the way back to catch
Before
all
that.
the things that made me even like really love Endgame more. And so what I'm saying is like the a lot of these movies are very standalone, or at least their own like little mini sagas in between, because there are like multiples of them. Like Iron Man has like 3, Guardians of the Galaxy will eventually have 3, Doctor Strange has 2. Like but they have their standalone, but like they make it to where like you want to watch all of it.
So
Like,
have you
wanna
seen the
watch
Winter
it.
Soldier yet?
Yeah, I've
I
seen
have
all of
not.
it now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
like,
gonna say because I still
it
think
was
Winter
just-
Soldier is the
Like
best. of the
I've
MCU.
seen them
Really? I haven't
multiple
watched that
times
one.
Really?
since then.
Winter
Yeah,
Soldier.
I do.
I think
Yeah.
everybody
I've seen
has
multiple
their
times.
everybody has their thing. I think that's the thing about. That's what I say. That's
think
what I'm
it
saying
depends
about
on
Destiny
Marvel.
disagrees.
I
He's
Yeah,
shaking
but
his head.
I think the-
wrong,
I think
but-
the-
Wait, hold on. I think the thing
Uh-uh.
about Marvel that makes it better than the DCEU is that they try to make at least, and I think they need to do better at this, but I think they're trying to make a pocket for every viewer.
Everyone, yeah.
Right.
Well, they
Scarlet
understand
Witch,
this.
For you,
Scarlet
one of
Witch,
these
let's
is
be
for
clear, is very like. I'm not making any judgments about you if you like Scarlet Witch. That's not what I'm saying.
The
But
most fucking love Scarlet Witch.
it's for us. Like Scarlet Witch is for the gays. It's for the gays.
Scarlet
Like,
Witch.
because
We
it really is. It really is because
she
it's
is
so-
a fucking gay icon.
You put
Done.
first
Yes,
of all,
yes,
her,
yes.
I didn't
her and
realize
Agatha.
that.
Of
Shit.
course, you wouldn't.
I
You wouldn't.
say
And
it, but
that's
she
what I'm
is.
saying. But that's why I prefaced it. That's why I prefaced it with I'm not making any assumptions. That's a smart thing they do. They made something that clearly is gonna draw us in. We're gonna feel included,
Everyone loves
but it's
Storm.
not gonna. But it's not
Everyone
gonna
loves Storm.
exclude. Wait, it's not.
No, it's cool. I know.
But it's not gonna exclude. It's gonna include the gays, while at the same time not excluding their fan base. So whether you, no matter where you, that's what I think is smart about their movies. Like Black Panther was clearly for black people, but they didn't make white audiences feel excluded.
Thank you.
That Captain Marvel was clearly for women, but they didn't make
Although
everybody else
for
feel.
Black Panther.
That's what's smart about Marvel. They know how to give each demographic what they want and then make them feel seen as a viewership, while at the same time staying true to their core base. And that is fucking hard to do. But they had to do it But what sucks is they had to do it first by appeasing the white boys with Iron Man, right? Let's be clear.
Isn't
But
that
then
one part?
they did. They had to. They had to do that first. They had to do that first.
They
You had to reel them
We
in,
can
right?
address everybody, but the first group
Right.
we have to address is
We
the
have
white
to address
boys.
the white men first, right? But then
White
after
cis
that,
men, they
they were
gotta be
very
first.
smart. They were very
It's
smart
true.
to establish a trust with us. They were like, okay, let's establish a trust with our audience so that no matter what hero we're bringing to their face, they trust us to know it's gonna be fucking epic. Like, they could literally do a whole series about them two little kids, and we would watch that shit.
Oh fuck yeah!
Are you kidding
We
me?
watched that
To
shit.
clarify,
He's like,
I'm
well,
laughing
they do
because
so- they do
because
so
when
well
you
with
pointed
their
that
own
out,
Everybody's talking.
ideas.
Everybody's talking at once.
I was laughing so hard because once you pointed that out, I realized that you were right, and I was just so oblivious in my straightness that I didn't notice it
No
until you said
way.
it. And that was just
Isn't that
hilarious. to
crazy?
me.
Hi,
Isn't that
welcome to
fucking
your
crazy?
privilege.
But it's true. It's so kind of funny in a way.
No, that's why that struck me as so funny.
But what's dope is like you have WandaVision, but the next thing they're coming out with is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is dope because Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be, first of all, anyone who's a fan of sidekicks, right? Boom. But also you're having a bromance. If you're into bromance, it's going to lean towards straight
Actually,
white guys. But then you also you finally have a character.
Do you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm not. There's homoeroticism in
Bucky
it,
Captain-
but there's also
Captain
this
America
interracial
fan
balance, right? There's a black man and a white man sharing title. Where do you see that? Where do you see that? You don't see that nowhere else. So really, they're smart about making everyone feel like when you come watch our shit, you're gonna feel represented somewhere.
You got
Somewhere. And then when they tie the movies together, it's even better because then you don't feel like you're watching a gay person's movie, a straight person's movie, a black person's. You feel like you're watching like an Us movie. That's what I love about the Infinity War and Endgame. You really did just go and watch that shit. It wasn't like, oh, this one's for. No, it was just like a Us kind of thing.
Yeah.
I watched that shit in jail.
Do you know what I really like?
I
about
actually
the
know.
movie?
I mean, that's where I saw Endgame. I saw Endgame in jail.
Shut up.
Dude,
Now,
Endgame
it's-
is how
now,
you
let me
do
tell you.
that.
Let me tell you the
I
crazy
just watched
thing.
it
Let
not
me
2
explain.
minutes
Let me
ago.
explain. Let me explain.
Bitches
When I
think
watched
we're
that shit,
fucking
it's
podcast.
crazy seeing motherfuckers in jail be hype about that kind of stuff. That's when I realized this is so universal because you see, like, I'm talking about, like, I was around some hardened ass motherfucking thugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I was crying.
But
Getting
that
the leg with
thug,
some Black Panther.
that nerd was what it was. They were not thugs for that hour and the fucking 2 hours. They were nerds. Fuck,
Yeah.
like up screaming, yelling, like, yeah, beat it, all that stuff like that. And I'm just realizing, yo, that's what's better about them than DC. Like, DC makes fun movies. I'm not flexing on them. They make good movies that sell. But if you're comparing the two, the difference is that they don't appeal to the masses the way that, because I don't feel like men felt the need to see not straight men felt the need to see Wonder Woman 1984.
No.
It was terrible though.
Well,
that
the
doesn't
idea
help.
is this, and then what sucks is that it was terrible.
But like, it was like,
But the
You
idea
know,
is this. it's
I
like-
will say that Marvel understands their characters, and the DC movies do. I am more of a DC fanboy than I am a Marvel fanboy, and the DC movies are freaking terrible because they don't understand their characters in the
Even
slightest.
Birds of Prey, you think?
Birds of Prey wasn't bad.
Oh,
But, like,
I hated,
super-
I hated
I'm a-
Harley Quinn in Birds.
I am a huge Superman fan, and this is like the
too.
worst interpretation of Superman that
I
I've ever
disagree.
seen.
The only reason I disagree is because of who's playing him. But
I think Henry Cavill could be fantastic.
I don't know.
Realistic.
I think he's the best choice. I agree. I think he's the perfect. It's like I get what you're saying. They cast the
writing
perfect
probably could've been
actor,
better.
but gave him the worst material.
The idea that Ma and Pa Kent in both movies tell him, fuck the world, don't save anybody, use your powers for yourself is like astonishing to me. Like that makes no sense.
On Wednesday,
Yeah, because that's not
when we
how
needed
they
some
raised
folks
him.
to talk
you
about
know what I mean? They wouldn't talk like that.
some Birds of Prey.
I was
Listen,
I was at
yeah,
work. I was
he did.
drawing all night and then at work.
Yeah,
so.
he did another thing. I wasn't gonna ask him to do two things. But okay. So we talked about Scarlet Witch.
Wait, that's right. You drew that night. I was
Yeah.
watching. Oh my god, I fell asleep.
And then you fell
I'm sorry.
asleep.
I fell asleep because it was late and I'm old. And
Well,
I
we're
was
gonna
like,
try to
oh my
do
gosh.
another one.
It's
I was
probably boring watching
I was like,
somebody
we're
else draw
outlining
shit.
his
too,
eyes.
to be
Are you
honest
kidding me?
with you.
Because I'm totally
Somebody
nervous
wants
myself.
it.
So I was just like, yes.
No.
I
We literally
Nobody
did it at
wants
1
it.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that was fun.
So,
that was a
like,
lot of fun.
It was
actually.
awesome. Are you kidding?
Like,
I was
look,
totally
first of all,
down
Matt,
for it.
somebody's gonna want it. Somebody's gonna want to watch. Somebody's gonna want to do along with you. Like, don't count yourself out. Like, somebody wants it.
No, I know.
Somebody
I was
wants it.
kind of teasing.
One thing
One
I
minute
want to say
feedback,
about
lighting,
Marvel
that's it.
Julian, hold up. Go ahead, Destiny.
is I think that was Stan Lee's whole idea. He's always wanted inclusiveness. Everybody's
Yes.
included. Everybody's,
Inclusivity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that speech he made where it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, trans, whatever. I want everybody to be able to be included. So that
And
has
I
always
want to
been his
hop on
idea.
that. I want to hop on that really quick because what I wanted to say and I got distracted because I'm easily distracted. The difference between DC and Marvel, and I'm talking about the comics. If you look at DC and Marvel, they pretty much have a mirror to every character, except for the X-Men.
No, yeah, they do.
Who's the mirror?
The Outsiders are very X-Men-ish. The Legion of Superheroes is very X-Men-ish.
No. They're not mutants.
Oh,
They don't
yeah.
have-
They
DC doesn't have.
DC has
talk about
metahumans,
mutants,
people born with
the
mutant
difference
yeah.
is what I'm talking about is
Yeah,
the
I get what you're
storyline.
saying.
The storyline that they've created with the X-Men and mutants in their part in society is the through line of Marvel. They're not always on par with it. Of course, there's still some issues, still problematic in places. But the idea of this marginalized group of people being the ones that save the world is something that DC doesn't really have. It's interesting because I saw this meme, and the meme said the difference between the DC movies and the MCU movies are that DC movies are about humans becoming God. No, gods learning to humble themselves to human, and MCU is about humans becoming gods. And they said
I would agree with that.
But the connotation was negative, as if that's a bad thing. However, what I think the real message is that we all have that within us to be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
DC makes you feel like if I don't have money, if I'm not a demigod, if I'm not given these gifts, I can't do anything. MCU makes you feel like no matter who you are, you can do something. I
went to 12 years of Catholic school, and my moral guide on things I ask myself, what would Superman do in this situation? Like, Superman he does the right thing because it's the right thing to do no matter what the cost is. So to me, the DC characters are more aspirational, and the Marvel characters are more, you can relate to them, if that makes sense.
Right, and I think that's why the MCU does better, because they really capitalize on that. Like, you take a person like Scarlet Witch, right, who's arguably one of the most powerful characters in the entire MCU. And before we even talk about how powerful she is, we're just going to show her humans. Like, I'm talking about WandaVision. We're just going to show her we're going to show what she wants. She's so powerful. She doesn't want to take over the goddamn universe. She doesn't want to rule the earth. She wants a fucking husband and some kids.
Right.
And I'm hoping that doesn't put a negative light on like what a woman would want, because I can understand how people can feel that, but to me, I thought the point they were making was that, like, you know, everyone who has power doesn't necessarily want that. Sometimes they want a family, and that's okay. Now, I can see some people who would feel like that's problematic, and I'm not going to argue with that, but I feel like the point is to show her human side. The things that as a human she wants, whether it is, you know, she wants the love of her life to be alive and to finally just build a family with him. And it's beautiful to me because before you talk about how powerful, you give us a chance to connect with her. They do that with every character, even with Thanos. Like,
they did a great job with Thanos.
They
too.
made us really care about, in a way. They honestly, I'm gonna be honest, we got to care about him. Like, I hate him, but I also cared about him. Like, I hate him because he killed Gamora. Period. But
you
like,
also sympathize with him because he had to kill Gamora to
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't have to kill that girl.
But you understood his grief of having to make the decision to kill Gamora for whatever his cause was. Because even regardless if you don't believe in that cause, you understand his motive.
At least he was willing. Yeah, at least he believed. This is the difference.
And he was
he
upfront
believed
about
in his cause enough to not
Yes.
only sacrifice his daughter, but even himself. Because when it was time for him to get his head cut off, he was like, you know what? If I'm a casualty, he really did feel in his heart of hearts. It wasn't about him being. That's one thing that was relatable about him. It wasn't about him getting power. He really felt like the entire universe would be better off if half of it was gone. So much so that he gave up his daughter. And when they came to kill him, he didn't even fight.
Right.
He was like, it doesn't matter because if this is the price I have to pay to bring this piece to the
did what I
universe,
needed to do.
I'll do it. And that's some deep shit.
So who's here familiar with the comics? Because what they did with Thanos was brilliant. His motivation completely changed.
Yeah, in the comics, he wanted to impress death, right?
He's literally in love with death. The physical embodiment of death is a female that he wants to have sex with, and that is his motivation in the comics, is to kill as many people as possible to get laid by death.
Yes.
So I'm so glad that they changed that in a way that actually is not bizarre.
Well, you know, I mean,
In a way that's
once
not
you
patriarchal
introduce
and-
death as a character, where do you go?
I
Like, where
kind
do
of
you
thought
go?
that's what they were going to do with Hela. I kind of thought they were going to Thor. Right when I
I
watched
thought so
Thor
for- I
Ragnarok,
saw
I
for
kind
a
of thought
second, too.
Yeah,
she was going to
Hera
be
was-
who Thanos was thirsty
Something
for.
like that. But I agree. Like, that's my point. Is like, I think, and they do that across the board. Like the villain in Ant-Man 2. Like sometimes you just have shitty villains, right? And I think a lot of the shitty villains, when I say shitty, I mean they're just horrible people. They show up in like the first iteration of something, so that we just can root for the hero, right? But a lot of times in the second and third movies, these characters that they're villains against, they have this really intense like story. So it's like, it makes you think. And that's like the villain.
Well,
in
Bucky
Ant-Man
was
2.
the villain of Winter Soldier. I mean,
Honestly,
people
Even,
kind of
like,
forget
look-
that.
Like
Yeah.
Killmonger too. Like Killmonger, like you're just like, well, I mean,
I get it.
like he ain't wrong.
But the redemption arcs are
He's
also
not
kind of
inaccurate.
new.
So
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
like I
Say
get
what
what
I
you're
you
hate
saying.
that they killed him.
I'm saying redemption arcs are kind of new. You know what I mean? Like as far as the movies have gone, we've been very like black and white about your antagonist, protagonist. Nowadays, we have a lot of like movies and a lot of stories that are being told about like the villains and how they've
Maleficent.
even Maleficent.
Because
we've
villainy
got
is
the next one
villainy.
coming out with Emma Stone, bitch. I'm actually excited for.
But villainy is all about
like-
perception. Because really, if we told the story from a different angle, the Avengers could be the villains.
point.
But
Exactly
I want to
the
say
point.
this: like you
With
said, you
the-
hated that they killed Killmonger. As a black man, and it's gonna sound weird, I love that they killed him.
Okay.
Because
I want that
if
take.
if they didn't kill him, it would have felt like, oh, we don't want to kill the black guy. Instead of just
Yeah.
letting the story be what it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if every Marvel movie they killed the fucking villain, unless the villain was like supposed to be an Avenger later on, it would have felt like the only reason they didn't kill him is because they were
Well,
like they were afraid.
Yeah.
It would have
Yeah.
felt like the only reason they didn't kill Killmonger was because they were afraid black audiences couldn't handle it, which was proven wrong because they did kill him, and black audiences still
Right.
love
So,
that
like,
fucking movie.
The
Yeah.
Fair.
counter-
I
the
just
counter-
wish they could bring these villains
The
back.
counter-
in
But they
second
can.
arc, you
Like
know?
Resurrection
The
is a
counterpoint
massive
to
part.
Killmonger
Wait,
wasn't
hold on,
Black
I'm sorry.
Panther.
But
Sorry.
the Resurrection is a massive part of the MCU.
The Marvel Universe.
And we're like with Wanda doing whatever the fuck she
Oh my
want
God,
to do.
yeah. Everybody
we're
dies
just-
at least 3,000 times.
But
At
honestly,
least 3,000 times.
That's
Every
the take I
single
took
hero.
away from WandaVision is that, okay, after WandaVision, all bets are off. Like, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want to do. And as long as the actor's alive, we'll make sure the kid...
we can just keep reviving this bitch anyway. He can die as many fucking storylines as he actually died.
that may not matter anymore these days with Grand
back
Moff
to the point
Tarkin
of
coming back and
Killmonger.
shit.
But back to the
We're
point
here.
of Killmonger, the counterpoint for Killmonger wasn't T'Challa and Black Panther. The counterpoint to Killmonger was Nakira. So, Nakira, Lupita Nyong'o's character, they essentially wanted the same thing, but they were doing it in different directions. So, Killmonger wanted better for the culture. He wanted better for the people. Yes. So did Nakira.
He did.
They were
want
like-
better for the culture. He did.
Yes. Nakira and Killmonger was like, Wakanda is wrong in the fact that they have all these resources and all these powers, and they're not doing it for no one else in the culture.
In different ways.
They're not doing anything else for the culture.
Okay, somebody wrote a dissertation.
Look,
I don't agree. I see what you're saying though.
But like Nakira was like, okay, but we can go out and help these people and do better by them. Killmonger is like, I'm gonna go because of my grief. I'm gonna go and completely dismantle shit because I think this is what our people need to elevate. Whereas Nakira's like, we have all these resources. Let's help support the people so we can do better. So they are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Not Killmonger and Black Panther, but Killmonger and Nakira, which is why it is okay. And for me, that Killmonger was killed. Like Killmonger had points. He made some points. Points were made.
It's really funny,
but
though.
so does Nakira. And but you're not immediately thinking that because Nakira supposedly is a love interest, but she's doing the same thing. It's just hers is more positive, and like Killmonger's more radical.
It's less violent and things.
Right.
Things like that. And you know what's funny? As you say that, I'm sorry because it's totally bringing me to Martin Luther J.
And Malcolm X.
You said Martin Luther who?
King.
Martin Luther King.
You said King? That's not what you said, but I'm going to...
Right. So
it's okay, I get it. What's in your cup? What's in your cup, Juliet? Right.
He's had
there is only but port one. Stop.
He has actually had one. Anyway, I have not.
The point being...
Look, let me tell y'all, this is what Ricky and Julian look like. They don't do this on Geeking Out, usually.
Look at this drug on Geeking Out.
Oh, you do? You been drinking on Geeking Out?
I'm always
I do all the time. I do generally.
That explains so much.
Drunk.
That explains so much.
Look, I'm always drinking on Geeking Out. Like, I'm sorry. So, for those of us that watch Geeking Out, like, if you watch any episode, I got a mug, a cup of something. I always got a cup of, and it's never water.
Can I bring up a spicy race point with Black Panther, and I want your guys' take on this?
You can bring it up, but
I feel like this is one of those.
The response is going to be, but you can.
I feel like this is one of those rare occasions where knowing the race of the writer and director changes the way that I felt about the movie, because a lot of the stuff in that movie, a lot of the culture stuff, could have very easily, I feel like, came across as like stereotyping. Yeah. But it came across as respectful, and I don't know if it's just because I knew the race of Ryan Coogler going into it that I felt that way about it.
It's interesting that you say that because I think that's important to note because at the end of the day, like, do I think that a writer has to be black or has to be white, has to be Asian to write for that culture? No, because I'm
on the surface, no.
I'm a writer. I'm a writer and I don't write all black characters. Mm-hmm. However, if you're talking about black culture or a culture and you haven't, no matter how much research you do and you haven't put anyone on the staff who is of that culture, who can speak to, and I would not just say anyone, I would say any people on that staff who are of that culture, you're going to be doing a disservice to your own art and that culture. So I agree, especially when you look at it from the audience's point of view. From the audience's point of view, I can go watch something like Black Panther and just accept it. I don't have to question it because I know it is coming from that culture. Mm-hmm. It is coming from Lupita Nyong'o, who is actually African. She is from Africa, correct? Liberia.
Yeah, no, she is just like
she's Mexican and African, Nigerian, I think. Anyway, my point is, I hear you, Destiny. I got you. So my point is, when you know that it's coming from the culture that it's speaking of, it's a little. So then you can just accept it. Not saying that you should always do your research, but it is. I agree with you. It is different when you know about that because so often.
But also keep in mind though, Ryan Coogler is a Black American
behind these black narratives, and sometimes when these white voices are behind, or these other cultures are behind other culture narratives, you are getting not gonna say stereotype, but you're at least getting a twisted view,
outside perspective without the understanding. Yeah,
and
that's just something about that movie that I've always kind of. In the back of my head, kind of, I've wondered about, like, would I have felt completely different about that movie watching it if I didn't know who made it?
Right.
And also keep in mind that, like,
let Destiny talk.
I was just gonna say, this reminds me of the whole Sia, why she's in hot water for her music movie, because she Oh, that's a hot one for me. I
Wait,
could go
who?
off on
Sorry,
that one.
say it again.
Sia,
Sia.
her movie, Music,
Music.
with
Yes.
the autistic child.
Talk
I
about
have
this
not
one.
seen.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
talk
there's
about
a
it
lot.
too much, but
Mm.
not on. You know, this ain't geeking out. Talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Talk about
that
this.
that could be a whole topic because that really
Yeah.
ticked me off the way she did that whole movie with way too much color and sound for like anybody that's on the spectrum could not watch that movie.
Autism spectrum. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
And then she's so out of touch. She went and made this movie and she has Autism Speaks backing her. And if you don't know the history of Autism Speaks, oof, that's another one, you know. And
Well, they're not
she,
any good in either.
yeah, they originally were going to have an autistic actor, but it was too traumatizing for the actor, so they fired them.
Oh shit! That's when you hit that point,
Instead
you
of,
need
like-
to kind of
instead of, like,
that's
Right.
a self-reflection
Creating an
moment.
environment
Like, how
that
is that
makes it
not a
easier
moment of reflection
for
for you?
them?
But
Which
if
is
you,
the
but if you
point
try to
of a
come at
movie
Thea
like
about it,
this.
she
Are you
doubles
fucking
down.
kidding?
Real
But here's my
bad
thing
about
about it. You pick an autistic actor, and the autistic actor tells you, "Hey, this is
Hey,
Hey, maybe too
traumatizing
much.
for me."
Maybe too much. I'm
And
out.
your response is, "Okay, bye." And your response is not, "Oh, well, maybe we should look at this work."
That's funny.
I think we're writing something a little too much.
But
Like,
some people with their art, let me be honest, like this is the thing about it, like, I'll be honest, okay? With arts, and I learned this not the hard way, but at one point when I was making art as a young collegiate art maker, I really got to this point where I was like, fuck the audience. Because I felt like, you know, when I say fuck the audience, it's not like I have anything against the audience, but I feel like as an artist, if your goal is to appease the audience, then you're not doing your art, right? However, my
make what you
professor,
want, yeah.
right? However, my very wise professor sat me down and said, the audience is part of the process. Just like your director, just like your actor, just your audience is just the last part, but they are a part of the process.
Because
So
you want them to feel something.
well, you also
Yeah.
need to consider them because you're creating art specifically for it to be consumed. If you're not creating it for it to be consumed, then don't release it. But if you're releasing it, you're creating it so that it will be consumed. And when you're creating art so that it will be consumed, you have to consider the consumer. And you then take on the responsibility of how it is perceived. So, when doing that, it is your responsibility as an artist. Because I've made a lot of art that nobody knows about.
That's true.
But if I decide to put my art out there, I'm doing it at the risk of triggering someone. And if I'm going to trigger someone, which could happen, there might be a lot of things that I didn't, you know, but you take responsibility for that. And so for Sia, and
That's
watching
gross.
her in her responses to the piece, it was very, oh yes, I did that, and she was very like high off of her doing this thing, and it was more about like, I just
turned you off because it was more about her.
It did
her
turn-
ego
yeah,
versus
thank
like,
you.
what the message
Yep.
was supposed to be and
Yeah.
what it was supposed to mean to people. You know,
Well, and then
her
they
greater
the
audience.
stereotypical acting, some of the facial expressions they had the actress doing, and very stereotypical and
Also
cringy.
remember, a lot of like it's funny because a lot of like animation these days we have to remember that like when we see them as the actor we're like, oh my god, that model looks so much like them. There's a reason why. It's like the actor actually making the facial expression. Sometimes it's the actor actually acting those things out, and then like them mapping it and creating like this 3D digital, you know, persona on top of it. But that's the person's actual facial expressions. That's their actual like, you know, that's their actual mood that's coming through, as if they were acting in front of us in real life. You know, so it's like you have to kind of consider those things sometimes as well, depending on the production and which one it is, because there are a lot that these days do that. Not all of them do, but there are a number of like animated productions these days that, remember, they're animated. They seem animated, but they're technically created off of people and their own facial expressions and animating those things. You know, so it's like those people are actually expressing those emotions, or expressing those moments, things. So these actors are interpreting these characters in these particular ways. So they're imposing their own biases sometimes Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're imposing the biases of their writers instead of their own. So it's like it's hard to like find that medium in between, but you have to kind of like it's all these little details that go into it. So it's funny because it's like, you know, we're analyzing these things in a cancel culture kind of way, but there's so many factors that go into it.
Well, and then there was her doing that where they in the movie they have where they pin the girl down and sit on top of her. That touched a nerve not only the autistic community, but you know, hello.
Yeah, people who the people who, you know, people who've been victims of certain, you know, life experiences that aren't normal life experiences, but they are still traumatizing life experiences. You know, so it's like but at the same time,
but it actually it's interesting to talk about, and that's why I love the way that Marvel interweaves all these like issues, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's still a good ass. Because if you really don't want to think, you can watch WandaVision and just not think. Mm-hmm. It's a fun experience. You get to see some badass lines. You get to see some great lines, some great acting, some sass, some attitude, some fighting. You can see all that. But if you want to think, you can also step back and say, damn, this is really a story about trauma, and there's not a human being alive. Yeah. Not saying that, but hopefully, you know, you live long enough, you'll experience trauma. And I think it's not only about understanding how to experience your own trauma, but I think it's also about learning how to understand other people's trauma. Mm-hmm. And that their trauma it can affect other people. Because I think a big takeaway from this was her encounter with the rest of the people of Westview when she was walking away and looking at how they looked at her, and then Monica was like, they'll never know what you sacrificed for them. And she was like, but that won't change how they feel about me. Of course it won't. Because
that was
of you,
a fantastic scene too.
That was because of you, they are now traumatized as well. So, and that's what I love about Marvel. They don't ever just give you black and white, easy peasy. Like, you're gonna fucking think, even if you don't want to think, you think you're not thinking, but you're thinking, you're learning, you're growing. Because what we learned is, even though she's the hero of this story, she hurt people. And we have to cope with that as her in that moment, because we're seeing it from her
tortured
instance.
People. I mean, she didn't just hurting like I accidentally said something that's offensive. Mm-hmm. She tortured people for days on end.
But the beautiful part about that, Matt, is that she didn't realize, she thought she was helping them. And because when she walked into that town and saw how miserable everything was, she thought she was creating a happier existence for them.
But that's so good on so many levels, because no bad guy ever thinks that they're doing bad. You know, I'm always doing it for the people. This suffering, it could be worse.
Some of them do, but the best ones don't.
Make those choices, but she wasn't.
The best ones don't. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but her thought process, she wasn't. She might not.
We don't need to drink before we do these.
It's the best part about it, though. But like, I feel like she didn't think she was harming them. She might not have thought about what she was really doing to them, but if anything, she wasn't thinking she was harming them or hurting them.
But that's the point.
Or she convinced herself.
Oh, no, Julie. Yeah. But that's the point. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, she didn't think about what she was doing. She had convinced herself. She also wasn't really thinking about the full implications. Because if you really think about it, even not her name, Wanda, Agatha told her, yo, you got magic going on at the border of this motherfucking thing. People living full lives and you don't even realize it. Like, the point of it, like, the full extent of her pain, she don't even realize what she's doing. And that's so dope. Because when you think about trauma, to dig into that, sometimes in our trauma, in our dealing with our trauma, we do and say and act and do things in ways that we don't even realize who else we're affecting. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that our trauma isn't justified, that we don't need to, but at the same time, it's such a deep story too, on top of this really fun, action heavy, like, if you like witchcraft, creepy crawly stuff, like they had that moments where the zombie, like, they knew, I'm just so impressed. And you know what sucks really? This won't win any awards. It will not.
It might get it.
It will not.
It will not.
Man, F them awards like F them kids, okay?
It will not. Let me tell you
Catherine
why.
Hahn doesn't get Catherine Hahn doesn't get something for this.
No,
it's crazy.
The only Marvel thing that has ever won any awards, I don't think it won, it just got nominated, was Black Panther, right? And it was a big deal. But for
it won, didn't it?
It's not. I don't know what it won for costumes.
mean,
It got nominated for Best Picture, which was a big deal. Because
But
let
it
me tell you what.
I think it got awards for costumes though.
But let me tell you what never gets nominated, and it's not just the issue of Marvel. This genre rarely gets nominated. Action movies. You don't see action movies getting nominated for awards.
Outside of
You know
Teen
what?
Choice and MTV Awards.
So,
So
my
do you
point
guys
is, my point is to say this. So this, even though we saw how epic it was, and we can dig into it, the academies they want. I'm gonna just say, because I don't feel like mincing words. They want hoity-toity shit.
They turn their nose up at it.
They
Yeah.
want hoity-toity shit, and this is not hoity-toity. But what sucks is this is actually something that brings in viewers. So it's crazy to me that we're not watching the shit that brings in viewers. Because at the end of the day, once something wins an award, it's able to make more money. Why wouldn't the thing that makes more money be the thing that brings in more viewers? That doesn't make sense to me.
But
Well,
even
not-
then that, like, you have to acknowledge that this was good storytelling too. Like you, regardless of the superhero aspect or the fact that it's
Right.
Marvel or DC, like you have
Right.
to acknowledge that this was legit,
Amazing.
good story building, and give it its props. And I'm right. I'm sure you're right. Like they're not gonna give it its props outside of like Teen Choice Awards and MTV Movie or MTV Awards. Like they're not gonna give it its just due because like it's beyond like it's beyond that. Like it's beyond just like the superhero world. Like it had really good story building.
Catherine Hahn definitely like deserves
Yes,
some kind of
she
act.
was
I mean,
fantastic.
she
I would
was
actually give
she
awards
was
to her
silly,
and Elizabeth
to awesome
Olsen.
too. Yeah,
Her and Elizabeth Olsen did the damn thing. I don't
Yeah.
care
Yes.
what you say.
you
They
know what?
did-
Paul
and
Bettany too. Though.
congratulations.
Paul Bettany
Yes.
was.
But
freaking
congratulations
fantastic.
to Marvel. Congratulations to Marvel for casting Catherine Hahn in this role because typically this is played by an extremely elderly woman. Extremely elderly. But
She was amazing in
she
this.
was we got every essence of who this character is through this Catherine Hahn quirk. And Catherine Hahn's known for being like quirky, funny, weird.
Best friend.
Yo, they made that shit work, bro. Like,
Dude,
I'm like,
I tell you what,
who
her
decided to
her
take that
wink
spin?
is my new favorite meme format.
Right.
Who decided to
Yes.
take that spin on this character? Like, whoever was sitting at home and said, "We're gonna do Agatha Harkness, but we're gonna do Agatha Harkness like this."
As a sitcom character.
Bruh, like,
It's
way to make a
brilliant.
character that's kind of could be easily just a bullshit character into someone. I actually love Agatha Harkness. Like, while I was watching them fight, I was just like, I mean, I wanted Scarlet Witch to win, but at the same time, I didn't hate Agatha's character. Like,
She was great.
I understood her character. Like, I want this power.
Grenade.
And I actually do agree that Agatha Harkness knows that she is the only way to avoid whatever future the Scarlet Witch is going to bring about that destroys the world.
She's not the bad guy. That's the thing. She's the villain, but she's not the bad guy.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely.
You know what?
So I'm excited to see her later. Like she's got. Like, we know she's coming back because she's like, I know where to find you. We know she's coming back. I'm excited to see her again.
Let's talk about that. We haven't talked about. Let's talk about Agatha in general. We were already doing that, but
Yeah.
well, I mean, just
Let me hop in my
End of
DeLorean
story.
to start this conversation.
yes, yeah, because I think the thing about Agatha that's my favorite part is that what you just said, Ricky, the whole idea that she's coming back. Like, but that moment where she said, "Yo, but I know where to find you," I was like, I started screaming. I was like, "Yeah!" And then to let us know how powerful she is, this shit right here, go. I was like, "Yo." So you created, this is how I feel. She created a hex in her head. Because you have to think about it, like the whole thing about it was like once the hex is down, everything's different. She gave you a special hex. Just right here.
She switched you into what you were playing the whole time.
Oh, that was so dope.
And was so crazy. It was like, but you also knew she was coming back because she was like, you're gonna need me, because we, like, if you've read, like, even if you read the comments, you've like looked up and researched, you're like, you know that
You know their
she,
relationship,
like,
right?
You know Agnes has taught Wanda, and she did some teaching doing this final
Already.
episode.
Yeah,
She done some
already.
teaching, but she said, you're gonna need me. We gonna see that girl again.
Oh, we're definitely gonna see
Got it.
Agatha in. You also
got-
know that
we got
Agatha
it.
is a very big villain for the Fantastic Four.
Ooh.
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I think there
Oh,
was some
that-
Fantastic Four setup in this too.
plenty of it.
Eek.
Listen.
So the
Because if you realize
astronauts,
when
half of the
Monica,
astronauts disappeared in the snap.
Like
and when you
I
realize
mean, were
when
any of them
Monica,
in
when
space at
Monica
the
was
time?
talking
Were
to that
four of them in
crease,
space?
when Monica was talking to that crease soldier, she said, "A friend of your mother sent me."
it could have been anybody.
He.
No, that's Nick Fury. That's Nick Fury. That was
That could have been.
fairly
It could have been
obvious.
somebody else too. That could have been somebody else too. I feel
It
like
could be Nick. I didn't think about that. It could be Nick.
No,
Fury.
because the
I've
friend
heard
of the
Nick
mother,
Fury.
he was their friend in the Captain
We don't
Marvel
know that.
movie.
The
up
great
in,
thing.
But where's
But
up in
Captain,
Nick
space,
they
Fury
made
right
it
now,
a
up in
point.
space.
They
That
left
was
it
Nick
open
Fury.
though. They left it
But
open
where's Nick Fury
intentionally.
right now, though?
I don't think that they did though. I think that they did it in a way that was like wink to the audience. You know who we're talking about.
I think if
But
it was
no,
Nick
but-
Fury,
but-
they would have said Nick Fury.
But
I think they would've said
it could be Nick Fury, but they were like, okay, we got to meet up here.
Yeah,
Like, but
because
where's
Nick
Nick
Fury's
Fury?
on a space station. That was the post-credit scene of Far From Home.
Okay, I gotta
Don't
look at
tell
that.
me. I haven't
No,
seen it.
no,
Shit, I
no,
forgot
he
you
was
just said
on-
that you didn't
no,
see that. Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm
so the
sorry.
last-
He was on a beach.
Don't tell me
He was on a
that.
beach.
The last
Don't tell me not
movie
that.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
revealed who they were talking about. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm
if you
sorry.
saw the
Okay.
last movie, it was a
I
wink.
need to watch
Huh,
it
we're
again.
talking
I need to
about Nick
watch it again. I
Fury.
need to watch it.
Oh.
Okay,
Ooh.
okay. Well, I forgot I was going to completely say something. I'm sorry.
My bad. I didn't mean to spoil that for you.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
Watching
It's
your
okay.
reaction, I'm
Completely
glad I
forgot you
did.
said that
It's
too.
okay.
But like that, what was I gonna say? But like that just brings the whole thing. Like I'm kind of grateful that they use WandaVision first because it opens up so many doors and theories and like what they could possibly introduce now that WandaVision's happened. Like you said, Fantastic Four could come out of this. The mutants for X-Men can come out of this. We got Monica Rambeau coming out of this. There's so much that they could like explore and introduce now that WandaVision has happened and giving you all these Easter eggs
The
throughout
ultimate
the entire
Young Avengers
time.
were
There's-
set up.
so,
I
like
mean,
the possibilities are really endless now with where they could go, and I'm sure they've got things planned, but like we're along for the ride now. Like we're gonna find out as we go. But that's what I'm saying. That's some really good story building that they've done just
You know
with
what?
this one series.
and that speaks to so this is something I'm so excited about these Marvel TV series for, because as good as the movies have been, they haven't been able to like replicate the comic reading experience. Like the comics kind of have like a formula to a certain extent where it's every year there's a big event or a crossover, right? And that changes the status quo of the characters. And then the monthly book for that character like will explore the change in that particular character's status quo, right? And then there's a new event the next year that changes that. And like you look at the movies, it's like in one movie, Iron Man gets engaged to Pepper Potts. In the next movie, he's already broken up with her off screen. In the next movie, they're engaged and about to have a baby. We don't see any of that. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on.
Well, that's actually interesting that you say that, because I think it's actually important that we don't see. I think it's important that we don't see some of this stuff. This is why. Because for one, knowing how Marvel's been operating, they can always show us later, and they will, and they may do that, you know. But also, you know, like the comics, you have so much, and I like. Okay, organize my thoughts. It's dope that the comics are different than the movies, so that you still are enticed to ingest the comics. If the comics were the same experience or different, then why watch the comics when I can just watch the movie? Why read the comics when I can just watch the movies? But I also like the fact that with the comics and the things happening off screen, that gives us a chance to, because I was thinking about that with Vision. Like the whole Vision loses his memory in the comics is a little different, because he literally becomes a villain. That was short-lived for us, right? But maybe we didn't need him being a villain for a long period of time for the movie version. Maybe they're doing other things. And so you still want to have this idea that we stick with the comics, but we also want to make you as the viewer surprised and not know what's coming next. So I feel like they're playing this very smart game of chess when it comes to, let's stick to the comics, but let's also keep the audience on their toes so that they're like, we know especially for and it's not just the regular audience, it's specifically the audience that are nerds, comic book geeks. They want those kids who enjoy the comics to still be able to come to this and have an element of suspense because they don't know what's going to happen until it's already happened. And then they can be like, oh, I knew it was going to be this. I knew it was going to be that. But until you knew, you don't know, if that makes any sense.
Right. And the thing with like the comics is like, as the decades go by, like there, even within the comic universe, there's some differentiation to.
Let's talk about this comment.
All right.
Omega Red is in Shang-Chi? How do you know that?
What?
Omega Red is a huge X-Men villain, and he's also a huge Wolverine.
Articles, another YouTube video.
I need more receipts, but these receipts can't be like them last receipts you gave us, Shantasha, because them last receipts you gave us, they wasn't giving what they were supposed to give. Okay, so I need some better receipts. But if Omega Red is in Shang-Chi, that's huge.
I don't want objective. I want some subjective. I want something like concrete. So, but like, yeah. So like the thing is, like, there's so much source material, and like even within the source material, like there's different renditions because, like, even like Wanda and Pietro's like origin story is a little different from the original comics. So like they can bend and like adjust and like.
It is a little different, but it's close enough to where they can still... There's enough mystery surrounding their history, which is why sometimes... I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Which is why sometimes it's smarter not to just spill. There's enough mystery surrounding their history to where everything in the comics could still be true. And that's very evident literally in how it ended. Because in the comics, Wanda does get her powers from experimentation, actually. Because the high...
Evolutionary
is trying to make her or to like spur her powers so that she is the Scarlet Witch so that he can take her powers, right?
I don't remember. I never read why, but it was around the time that they were putting out Age of Ultron, and
I want proof.
It was when they were putting out Age of Ultron and Days of the Future Past at the same time. They got in like a pissing match, and Marvel decided to make her not be a mutant anymore, so that they couldn't. Because they were trying to make it so that Fox couldn't use the character anymore.
And so my point is to say that like they really could still go like there's still room for Magneto because Magneto wasn't there when they were children, and then came later and thought that he was their father. So there's still room for him to be their father. There's still room for all of the story to still kind of line up. That's what I love about the way that they're doing this. They're not closing doors. They're just opening them, dude.
So I was more referencing to like the fact that she's not Romani in the MCU. So,
but
like,
they made up that country. I think the reason that the movies made up that country intentionally because I think they didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anyone's culture. Because if you think about Wakanda and Sokovia, they're countries that were pillaged by the U.S. Or not the Wakanda so much, but countries that, if you're talking about, well, Wakanda's actually in the comics. But my point is, I think Disney decided to do that so that they wouldn't be stepping on the toes of a culture, of a country. And I think they're smart for that. I get the people who are upset that she's not Romani, because it does feel like I get how they feel like culture erased her, and I'm not taking away from that at all. What I'm saying is, in my mind, they did that so that they could just tell this story without hurting culture.
They didn't want Romanians watching that movie and be like, my city fell on us. Why does dicks do that?
Absolutely. Right. And let's be clear, no matter who's making the story, it's going to be viewed as an American story about Romania if that's what they had done. And I think they just wanted to avoid that, so they come up with these fictional places so that they can just tell the story. But I do think that it would be beautiful to see them dig into Sokovian culture and tell us about that. Because just like you did with Wakanda, like Wakanda is a fictional place, but you decided to show us this rich culture. So even for a Romanian watching that, they're like, okay, even though this is not Romania, they're at least acknowledging that there's a rich culture that she comes from that we can't ignore. And I would love to see that. And I can't.
Do you think that part of the reason for that choice was, how do I say this? Is there anything problematic about their origin from the 60s in terms of like based very much on gypsy stereotypes?
Well, because I know that term is not a PC term, for lack of a better word. But,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't like people who they don't like that term. So, which is why I'm always weird, because I don't know what. Usually for terms that I know aren't well received, there's another term I can think of, but for that one I can't. But I know
I had not realized that. My bad.
Right, it's not.
Right.
It's fine. You didn't know. But that word is not a term. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I feel like they decided not to go with that culture, because maybe they didn't know how to handle it.
There's a lot of stereotypes involved.
There's a lot of tension that's still there, and I'm not saying that it's okay, because like I said, I do think they should still recognize, because like I can't speak for Africans because I'm not African, but just in the story of telling about Wakanda, the fact that it was a fictional place, and like I said, because it was told by black voices, there was a lot of room to just allow this thing to be what it was. But there are people who are upset that Wanda is not portrayed as a Romanian Jewish woman, and I can understand that, because if I was a Jewish person, I can understand feeling, damn, where's my representation? So I actually would love to see them take Wanda and show her having a culture, because she has a culture, because even after her parents died, she still lived in Sokovia well into her adulthood. So she has customs, traditions, all that stuff. Like, it's interesting how they had Catherine Hahn had that one line like about her accent fading. Her accent isn't her culture though. Like, her accent doesn't I'm not Romanian, so I can't, so take this for what it word, but her accent I don't think is what the issue is. I think the issue is more like, where's her customs? Where's her culture? Where's Romanian witchcraft? Where's all these things like that if we're talking about her and her history and stuff? So I think they should definitely dig into it. And I think they have the ability to, especially now that she's intentionally researching who and what she is in her place in the world.
But, because it was brought up earlier about Wakanda and, like, how they handle that. But also keep in mind, though, like, Black Panther was also directed and, like, based on, like, Black American culture, in a way. And there's a difference. So, like, how Black Americans handle African culture is different between how Africans handle their own culture. So, like, there's already issues with that. So, yes, like, we were all about it and all that stuff, but, like, there's some things, like, there's differences. Like, there's already, like, a different type of tension with Black Americans and Africans. So, like, there's that to keep into perspective, too. So, just, like, keeping that in mind when we're comparing, like, Wanda and her being Romani, and as far as, like, us creating Black Panther and trying to be authentic as possible with it being even a fictional country in Africa, in the continent of Africa, which is diverse on its own, regardless of how American culture will portray it. It's still, like, that continent itself is very diverse. It's still coming from a Black American, an American perspective.
But I think that's easy fix. Like, Disney has the money to hire a Romanian consultant.
Yeah, and as well, just like they were able to,
like, even if it's just for, like, okay, we're writing this Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we want a Romanian consultant for this specific character. They have the money for that.
Just like they were able to get some African consultants
they got Disney
for
money.
Black Panther. Yes,
and I'm talking about this isn't even like, you're not even making a whole film. You just need like somebody to let you know
they gotta put in
enough
effort
to where even if her character says some lines or has a scene or something where it honors the country and the heritage of Sokovia, I think that's very important to have in there. So I definitely think that you definitely have, and I hope that's the thing about it. Like I said, they really want us to walk away from these experiences, as so it seems, feeling like we are fulfilled as fans. And I think a lot of these people who are making these movies come from the nerddom, so they understand what it feels like to, like, not have a voice or to be left out or all that stuff that we grew up with, feeling like the weird kid, right? So because of that, I think they really do. That's why I'm kind of I love that the fans voice their concerns, and I love seeing the filmmakers address those concerns. It establishes a dialogue between the two, which says we want to have fun, but also we want to feel represented. And then the filmmakers hear that, right? So I hope that the filmmakers hear the Jewish people and the Romani people feeling like, damn, you had a character who is part of our heritage, but you don't discuss it. Because luckily, they haven't done anything thus far that rules her out as being Jewish. They haven't done anything yet that does that. As far as her being Romani, there may be some issues there, but I feel like there's still time to address it and honor that heritage without taking away from anything that you've
she's
shown
still
us.
adopted. As far as we know, like her and her brother are still adopted. Like they could
Her
totally
brother,
switch
yeah.
up on them.
For all we know, those aren't her parents.
Right.
I don't
absolutely
think
right
they're.
about that.
I kind of feel like they're getting towards the swan song because I mean,
With
the
Wanda?
thing we got to the thing that we got to remember is like in the comics, the characters can stay the same age for like 30 years. The
Right.
actors want to
Are
move
gonna
on
get
at
older,
some
right.
point.
Right.
So I kind of think Doctor Strange too. She might be the villain, and that might be her swan song from the MCU. So I kind of don't think they're going
This
to
is why I
touch the
disagree.
Magneto thing.
This is why I disagree. I disagree because the difference is this: like, Iron Man's a fighter, right? Scarlet Witch is a witch. Witches get old. Historically, witches are old. We're used to seeing old witches. So, and generally, when they're old, they're more powerful. And also,
Well,
when you
you're
look
you're
at-
talking from a
wait.
storytelling point of view.
No, I'm actually talking from a logistics. When you look at
Okay.
movies like The Irishman, where they made Robert De Niro look like he was 30 years old, and Disney has that kind of money. They have the coin
Not
to do
money,
some shit
but
like that.
money.
Money, right. So to me, do I think Ashley Olsen? Sorry, Elizabeth Olsen? Even in 10 years, she won't look that old.
No, but
She's better than her sisters right now.
can you imagine devoting yourself to being somebody else for 10 years as an actor
If
and not
they-
wanting to move on and do something
That's her
else?
main source.
Yes,
Like-
yes. Look at fucking Mariska Hargitay. She's been playing Olivia Benson for 20 years. Let me tell you.
But that's the exception, not the rule.
Let me tell you why. Now, I'm not going to deny. I get what you're saying. There are a lot of actors who want to do other things. But as an actor, being that I am one, a steady paycheck is like a goddamn unicorn. Okay?
No, I get what you're
now,
saying.
If you're Denzel or Halle Berry or motherfucking Leonardo, Meryl Streep, it's not so much of a unicorn because you know you're going to get that check. But when you're an Elizabeth
Part of a
Olsen,
series?
Elizabeth Olsen is relatively a newcomer. Now, her character doesn't have a whole series to carry.
That's debatable.
She's literally, when I say relatively,
She's
that's why I
probably
say
one of the
relatively.
biggest movie stars on the planet right now.
Right
as
now,
a result.
but that's because
that's
of
what
the
I'm saying.
Avengers movies. My point is saying this.
Right.
Now, she's not doing so many movies and so much that she can only do these. None of these movies are she did WandaVision. She's not carrying any of these films. So my point is to say she could do another movie easily. She just did one 2 years ago. And they said that was, I haven't seen the movie, but they said that was some of the best acting she did. She was in a Godzilla movie. Like, let's not forget that these actors do other things. The difference is like she shows up in these movies for the most part as a side character or whatever. So would she be willing to do these movies for years? Yes, especially if they decided to make her a focal point, because that means that check, okay, is gonna be absolutely motherfucking right. That
You know
check
what,
is
though?
gonna be
And
superb.
it's probably a little bit different, but like I think of I remember Chris Evans' interview where they were asking him if he was going to come back, and this is why I don't believe the rumors of he's coming back. But like shortly after Endgame came out, they're asking him like, "Will you come back as Captain America?" And he's like, "For the first time in nearly 15 years, I can sleep in on Saturdays and I can eat whatever I want. I am
But these are
not coming
different
back as Captain
comparisons.
America."
Let me
Yeah, but I'm saying
this is
that's where
why-
my mind goes with that.
This is why
So-
these
so
are
I get
different
what you're saying.
comparisons. When Chris Evans signed on to do Captain America, he had already been the lead actor in big budget Hollywood movies. He had been the name.
Yeah, it
he
is
had
different.
and also now he was signing on to not only star in 3 films and also do whatever excess films they wanted him to do, being the Avengers movies and all this other shit. So for him, it was a big fucking thing to chew, and he had already knew he had that weight. When you think of an actor like Elizabeth Olsen, who is relatively a new big name. Let's say that she's relatively a new big name. For her to sign on to do Scarlet Witch, especially since Scarlet Witch is rarely ever the focal point of a movie, it makes sense for me because it's a chance for her to show her ass acting wise, get that good old goddamn Disney
and
check.
she's not even baking on the Olsen name.
No, like a lot of people are just realizing that she's Mary-Kate and Ashley's sister. So at the end of the day, I think it doesn't, and she's young enough to where, and I think for us watching it, since we're watching it with her, it'd be different if all of a sudden she was 10 years older. But we're going to be doing this with her. So her getting older is not going to take us out of it. I agree. She can't do Scarlet Witch forever. Do I think there will be a swan song? I do think they're going to kill her character at some point. Do I think it's going to be like in the next few years? No. I think they have tapped into a whole new avenue. If you realize a lot of these movies that they're talking about deal around with magic, Blade, Doctor Strange. So it seems like the next phase of the MCU is going to be darker. It's going to deal with magic. There's no way you can do that without the Scarlet Witch. And have a threat be big.
And remember though, like WandaVision was supposed to be the first part of the phase 4. I'll be right back. So they got some time to get some usage out of her before it's time to hang up the hat. So I think we got a good bit before we see the end of. Oh, if she does, it'll be towards the end of phase 4, if anything. I think so. Like if there's a time that she's done, it's gonna be the end of phase 4, and that might not be for a good while. So I think because even now with WandaVision starting as the first part of phase 4. She's gotten way popular now.
Yeah, honestly, this was the show that I was least looking forward to out of all of the Marvel shows. I'm super excited about Falcon and Winter Soldier just because continuing. I'm telling you, I still think Winter Soldier is the best of the MCU.
Okay.
All right. You've shaken your head twice on that. What's your take on that, Des?
I don't know. I just didn't think it was. I mean, it was okay, but I don't think it was the best. There were other movies that were better, I feel.
From a straight movie point of view, that one was just great. That was just a great, well-made movie. I love that they just took Captain America and put him in a spy thriller.
But was it because of the Winter Soldier himself, or was it because of just overall?
I just mean the movie itself. Right. Forget about it being a superhero or telling a superhero story in terms of this is a movie, how we make a movie, the scenes of a movie that put together. It was the best movie of the MCU.
Okay.
What's your take on that? You guys strongly disagree. Which one's the best?
I mean, it's not my favorite. It's good, but it's not my favorite. And if for me, if it is, it's not because of the Winter Soldier himself. I think I like the connection that he has with Steve Rogers, and seeing where that goes with the Falcon. Honestly, I'm been more excited about WandaVision than Winter Soldier and the Falcon, to be honest with you. I've been, if I could get another season of WandaVision, I'd be okay without getting the Winter Soldier and the Falcon. But because of the fact that we're getting another aspect of the picture here with them, I'm okay with it. I'm along for the ride. So I'm not either or with them. I'm okay with it, but I'm not I'm so down for it. I want to know exactly what's going to happen with them. So Lamar Berry said, "Can you speak to the future of Monica Rambeau in the MCU?" We actually talked about that earlier in probably about an hour ago. like whether or not if they're going to introduce her as like Captain America or Spectrum, or like right now, like as far as we know, she's Monica Rambeau, and she's realized she's becoming more realized with these powers, particularly in these last like couple episodes of WandaVision. Hey Duryea.
Hey. What's up, Lamar?
So like we're talking about this. Like, I mentioned that like yes, it's okay, girl. Lamar.
Lamar's a man. He's a whole man.
I'm sorry, sir. Lamar. But yes, because I was saying like we
But
had
is
mentioned
he?
we had talked about no, it was more like how we say bitch, and then bitch means like anybody. Like that.
Yeah, but you realize dudes outside of the
I know.
You can't
that's
call a
bad.
straight dude girl, and because they'll feel like you're trying them, they won't get that it's a term of endearment.
I'm
right?
not
Such a
trying
weird
you. I'm
tangent.
sorry, but like I said, like we had talked about like the future for Monica Rambeau, and like a little earlier. Like
We actually
like,
didn't
right
talk
now,
about the review. We didn't talk about her future. We actually didn't really talk about Monica too much.
Well-
we talked about.
Okay, so fairly recently, Marvel introduced a team that's the Ultimates, and it's Captain Marvel, Photon, a character named Blue Marvel, and Nova, and Black
apparently
Panther,
Blue Marvel
and Black
is
Panther.
Blue Marvel just got. I read an article that said Blue
Yeah.
Marvel is being introduced in Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah, so I guarantee you that's where
Blue Marvel
they're
is
like.
Monica Rambeau's love interest in the comic.
I kind of feel like the Avengers is going to turn into the Ultimates before.
Let me
too
tell
long.
you, back to what we were talking about DCEU versus Marvel. Like, you're about to take characters that aren't the big name characters, right? And you're about to make them epic and big names because Marvel's they're gonna write them well. They're gonna cast them amazingly. They're gonna give them interesting stuff. Like, you have to realize Monica Rambeau is an underdog, really, when you think about it. Like, how powerful she is. She has no standalone series in the comics, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a freaking Spectrum movie somewhere in the future after people's response to her.
Well,
The
people
thing
forget
is,
it,
like-
but the MCU is C-list
Massive.
characters. I mean,
It is a lot
it
of
was
C-list
the
characters.
it was the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man were the House of Marvel up until the movie started. Iron Man was an absolute joke that they were launching the universe with the Iron Man movie.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's like, we don't care about which characters you pick as long as you give us that incredible
Use the
content.
story.
Good stories, yeah.
I was actually on a Twitch page not too long ago. I forget the name of the Twitch page, but I shouldn't. But they were watching old trailers and talking about them. And the first trailer they watched was the Iron Man trailer. And they were saying the great thing about the Iron Man trailer was that if you take out the context of it being a comic book movie, it still stood alone as a great revenge movie about, like, it still stood alone as a great action film. That's what they do really well. Each one of these things stands so well alone as an entity, including WandaVision. So I'm going to talk about WandaVision. I'm sorry, Monica Rambeau in the future of Monica Rambeau in the MCU.
It was sorry, quick one, but it was a great reintroduction for Robert Downey Jr. back into
Yes.
to
Oh, yeah.
the scene. Like
He was like
Congratulations.
unemployable at the
If
time.
anything,
Everybody
that
forgets
was like,
that.
That was
Good for
that's
him.
the thing for Robert Downey Jr. to like get back into it.
You know
Okay,
what?
so Monica-
Marvel's casting is incredible. Like they beyond nail it.
So let's talk about
Beyond
Monica
nail.
let's talk about Monica for Lamar, because Lamar wants to talk about Monica. So let's talk about Monica. Okay. First of all, casting. Period. Like, she does she's so incredibly likable. Everything about her is incredibly likable. Not only is she gorgeous, like, her character is just really likable. So on top of that, I think, and I'm so happy that they did this. We're kind of repeating stuff, but we'll repeat it for you, Lamar. I think it's smart that they made it to where, like, everyone who knows the comics knows how powerful her character is. And I love that they literally scraped the iceberg in this series.
I love the journey right now.
All they showed us was, okay, she can, like, the power that she's most comfortable with is identifying energies, right? Okay, she can do that. That's literally the weakest shit she can do. The weakest shit she can do is, she's immortal. at this point. She doesn't even realize it, but she can't die. Like, she cannot
excited
die.
for that shit. Like, I'm ready for this story to unfold with her. Like,
I just hope
give it
she's
to
not
me.
a sidekick in Captain Marvel 2. I really hope they expound on the fact that, because when they mentioned Captain Marvel and she made that face, I'm like, yes, keep that energy. Let's keep that energy.
No, don't waste that post credit scene on some sidekick shit. No, if you're gonna do it, do it. If you're gonna hint it and tease us, go ahead and do it.
I would love to see a Captain Marvel Spectrum fight at some point. I'm not even gonna flex.
Because I want to know what the beef is.
I think the beef is pretty obvious. The beef is that, well, my mom died of cancer, and where was you at? Where was
I want to see
you
that beef
at?
happen. I want to see.
Now,
the
I will
development
say
of
this.
that beef.
I think it's
I saw
as
this
simple as
theory.
she abandoned them.
I think so too. But I saw
90s.
this theory. Because I love this theory. You realize that Captain Marvel, between Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, she cut her hair.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are saying she did it because after the snap happened, Monica wasn't there, so Marie was by herself. Captain Marvel came and cut her hair in solidarity. Now, do we think that's
works with
stretching?
headcanon. I don't.
Do we think that's stretching, or do we just think that's what happened?
I mean, I can see it, but I want to know more. Like, I need some more. I need some more to be hooked on that.
I mean, I think it would be dope because,
for me,
I think it would be smart because of the idea of, because like they like to do this whole like we're beefing, but there's something I know that you don't know. They love doing that in Marvel. So it would be dope if there was like this whole issue with them, and then when Monica finally says like, you abandoned my mother, she's like, no, after you went away, I was there, and then that could be like a resolution for them. I think that would be dope.
I can see them doing that after the fact, but that wasn't like the intent.
Okay,
because
I think
they filmed all that stuff before they did. Like, they didn't know what she was going to look like in Captain Marvel when they came up with her look for Endgame.
Okay, but I think that happens though. Like, you have to understand, like, they're writing all these fucking movies, and we already talked about that. So
they could retroactively do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that they retroactively figure out, and they're like, okay, let's put this in later on.
Oh, for sure. I think they do a lot of, wait a minute, this fan noticed this in this movie 4 years ago that he just now put on a forum. Let's reference that and pretend like we always meant to do that.
Exactly, Patrick. Monica literally cannot know whether Captain Marvel was there when Monica's mother was dead. She was snapped out of existence. Exactly. Wait. Which actually brings me to question something I just said. You're right, Patrick. She can't know whether she was there or not. So maybe the anger isn't so much about the abandonment during her sickness. Maybe the anger is about the abandonment during the rest of her life.
Yeah, just she disappeared in the 90s.
Which is a much harder issue to resolve. Because that means that you had all...
Endgame, though. She said in Endgame, like, there's so many other planets and in the galaxies that need the help, but everyone else doesn't have the Avengers. No.
Let me say why. Let me say why.
But I know that. But
let me say why, Rakia.
Let me say why. She wasn't here, though. That's to say.
Let me say why, Rakia. Let me say she left to do all these other planets because of the snap. Mm-hmm. She said the snap didn't just happen on Earth, so I have to deal with this everywhere. Makes sense. We're talking about everything before the snap. Where was she? Where did she? Basically, what we're saying is, after the last time we saw her in Captain Marvel, did she just abandon Monica and Marie Rambeau? And if so, Monica's probably pissed about that.
Well, the end of Captain Marvel was her leaving with the Skrulls to find a new world for the Skrulls, and then she only returned when the pager at the end of Infinity War went off. So she has been gone from Earth Monica's entire life.
At the end of Infinity War.
Yeah, the post credit scene in Infinity War was when after the snap happened. No, the post credit in Infinity War was after the snap. We cut to New York City, and it's Nick Fury in the truck with Maria Hill, and then the snap happens, and he pulls out something, but we don't see what it is, and he says, "Oh, and then he
That's at the
disappears.
end of Infinity War?
Yeah, and he drops it, and it's the pager with the
Okay.
Captain Marvel logo. That was the first time
That
we
seems
saw
like a weird
the
place
Captain
to
Marvel
put that
logo.
that ending, because by the end of Infinity War, Thanos is dead.
No, not at the end of Infinity War. He's not dead.
No.
He had just snapped.
Wait. Okay, so I only
Yeah.
I didn't see a post-credit scene in Infinity
Yeah,
War. So I
the
gotta go look-
post-credit
I gotta
scene
go
of
look.
Infinity
what's her
War
name?
sets up Captain Marvel.
Where is the post-credit scene in Infinity War?
After the credits. That's kind of what
Yeah.
post-credit
After all
Post.
the credits?
Oh, it
Okay.
might be mid-credit. It might be mid-credit.
I have to watch. I didn't watch after all the credits. I had to watch some.
Yeah,
of the
it's
credits. I have to
Nick
watch.
Fury and Maria Hill driving
Yeah.
in New York City, and they're having banter, and then people start disappearing on the streets, and then Nick
Like,
Fury gets out of the car, and he's like, "Oh, fuck," and he disappears right as he starts the F, and he drops something, and they zoom in, and it's the pager with the Captain Marvel logo, and that was the first reference to Captain Marvel.
So do we
Then-
feel like
I'm watching it right now.
Monica Rambeau? Do we feel like I pray that they do a slow burn on her powers? Because that's what I think worked about the Scarlet Witch that didn't work about Captain Marvel. I don't care what nobody says. People say it's a sexist thing. I don't think it's a sexist thing. Now, granted, of course, I'm a man. I'm going to say that. I get that. And I'm not going to... But I think it had to do with the fact that every story we got told up until that point had like this struggle. The character had to struggle at some point, and we didn't see her struggle, right? So with Captain Marvel, she just is all up, like, immediately. Like, somebody actually pointed out this. There's a time gap in Captain Marvel. So, therefore, yes, we go from her getting her powers to then years later, of course she's strong, right? That's why I blame the writers. The writers should not have left that part out. They should have given us
Nick
that
Fury
journey.
sent something to Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Nick Fury recalled Captain Marvel after the snap. That's why she came back.
I'm watching it right now. Maria Hill is blipping, and he's about to blip too. He's trying to like run to the back of his car, and like he pulls out the pager, and like it says sending, and then you see the symbol. So he sent something to her as an SOS.
And then we have Captain Marvel. He gives her the pager towards the end of it, and then a post-credit scene in Captain Marvel is all of a sudden we jump to present day, and it's the Avengers standing around, and they're like, wait a minute, the pager just shut off. What's happening? Mm-hmm. And they go to the pager, and then all of a sudden they turn around, and Captain Marvel's standing there, and she goes, where's Fury? Mm-hmm. And that was how she came back, and then in Endgame, she's just there because she showed up in the post-credit scene in Captain Marvel.
What was that second? What was that other one you just said? What was that one in?
The post-credit scene in Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay.
It is actually what should have probably been the opening scene of Endgame, because it's her showing up after it's the pager shutting off because she has showed up and the Avengers don't know what it means, and then they turn around and she's there and she's like, "Where's Fury? He called me."
And so I've read that like a lot of these like post-credit scenes are like snippets of either previous or future movies that they just didn't put in there, that just didn't make the cut. So
yeah, the post-credit scene in Ant-Man was a mid scene from Civil War because they had already captured Bucky and had his arm in the vice, and it was a cut scene from Civil War like 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Mm-hmm. So now I gotta rewatch all these things again. Damn.
I just go. I mean, but for me, when it comes to back to the Monica Rambeau bit, like I feel like they have to do this right. Let me say why. Before Monica's both a black person and she's a woman, right? So they haven't really ventured into this arena yet. Like there's Okoye. And Nikita, you said, no, not Nikita. What's her name? Rakia? Lupita Nyong'o's character?
Oh, Nakira.
Nakira and Shuri. But those characters aren't clearly designed to be their own standalone until Shuri. But the point is, you have this vehicle for this incredibly likable character who's black and female. So you better handle this right. And I think they will. Of course, she's going to be a secondary character for a while. but how long? Do
I
y'all
agree.
think at some point she's gonna get her own series?
I agree,
Be
but I
honest.
disagree
Okay,
because
let's talk about it.
okay, so there's lots of rumors about them race bending either Xavier or Magneto, and just
Wait,
make
race
Storm
bending who?
either Xavier or
Xavier?
Magneto.
Why?
You know what? The one that I can get behind though is Gene. What's his name? Was
Xavier?
the Gus's chicken guy in Breaking Bad, and he was the Moff and the Mandalorian. There's talk of him being Xavier, which I can actually get
Esposito.
behind. Yeah, I can
Esposito?
get behind
You
that.
said gender bending or race bending?
Race
No,
bending.
race bending. So you're thinking Giancarlo? I can't picture that.
He
They
was
were saying
was
Giancarlo
rumored-
was gonna be Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
He's been rumored as a lot of stuff. But,
Yeah,
but
so which
my,
makes
my,
me think that he's gonna be in the MCU. We just don't know.
Somewhere. We don't know yet.
my point is though, just make Storm the main character and put it through her perspective.
Yes!
If why blow your load on a strong black female character? Just make Storm the fucking main character.
Let's stop. Like, there's
stop
Matt,
race
Matt,
bending.
There's
We
something,
need a black
there's
guy in the
something
X-Men. Make
problematic with
Storm
what
the
you
main
just said.
character.
Let me say what's problematic with what you just said. The truth is, we need to make Monica Rambeau a badass and Storm a badass.
Okay,
we
that's
don't
fair.
need to have one or the other.
Not
We
either
need to have
or. We need both.
both. Because at
No,
the
I
end of the
agree
day,
with you. I
if
agree
we can
with
have
you.
Thor, Captain America, the goddamn Winter Soldier, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, if we can have
Iron
literally Iron Man,
All
we can
of
have all those white males, cis heterosexual white men. Why we only get a Storm or we can get a goddamn Spectrum.
Okay.
We can get a goddamn Storm. We can get a Black Panther. We get 5 Black Panthers. Like we
Okay,
should be
I
able to
feel
have,
the need. I definitely feel the
You
need
don't,
to clarify my stance on this one.
because
Okay,
I get what you're
okay,
saying.
because my stance is not that you can have one or the other.
And I know
My
that's not your
stance is
stance.
from a boardroom. They're sitting around saying we need to have this. Use Storm as that character. Storm
No,
is.
but that's the point.
my-
That's the point.
Yeah,
That's
but-
what I'm saying. I get that's
Yeah.
your point, but my point is that is the issue. And I'm not coming at you. What I'm saying is,
Right.
You're
Storm
saying
is
that
a character-
conversation should not be happening in a boardroom.
Like,
no. What I'm saying is that Storm is the character that everybody knows. But when you talk about cis heterosexual white men, we're introduced to all these characters that aren't well known.
I get
So
you.
why like you said, why blow your load on Storm? Why not build no matter when Storm shows up in the MCU, it's gonna be a big deal. Period.
Okay. All right. I got
Whenever
you. I
she
get what
shows
you're
up.
saying there.
Because everybody's waiting for Storm, even people who aren't black, right? So if we're gonna introduce these other black characters, absolutely. Let's show all these other black characters that already exist within the MCU.
As one of the most recognizable comic book characters that
Period.
we know of. Period. So like you're saying though, like why waste your time race bending Xavier and Magneto when you could you got these characters right here. The material.
I'll be honest though,
Look at-
Rikia,
look
I
at
don't
the material.
care. I don't care if they race bend Xavier and Magneto because of the rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read that it is true. I've read that it isn't true. But the whole narrative that Magneto and Xavier are based off of
MLK
Malcolm
and
X
yes.
and MLK, I actually don't care if they race bend those two
Right.
characters.
But
Especially
also, you
because
also talked about
wait, another part of why I
That's all
don't care.
bullshit, though.
Another
That's
why
all
I don't
bullshit.
care. I don't care if they race bend those characters because their race is not imperative to their stories. If their race was imperative to their stories, even if they were white, I would want them to be the race that they are in the comics. But because those characters aren't racially imperative, that doesn't make so for me. Storm,
Because there are black
her
Jews,
being
guys.
from Africa is a huge part of her
Yeah.
story.
The
She needs
blacks
to be
were
from
also
Africa.
part of the Holocaust too, y'all. Just so y'all know.
Wait, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You're right. I forgot that he was supposed to be Jewish, so I take that back.
But there are black Jews.
You're right.
Like, the black people
You're
in
right.
Germany were also like persecuted during the Holocaust as
You're
well.
absolutely right. You're right.
So like before y'all start getting honest about it, like remember it wasn't just Jews. They were the biggest like victims of this, but there were others, blacks, mentally the mentally disabled. You know, there were others that we don't talk about often that were also affected by the Holocaust, but that's besides the point. So, but you also have talked about how like we don't want any more, like we don't need necessarily the race bending for diversity, because there are plenty of characters of minority characters that
That's
have been
the point of the
created.
X-Men.
Right, like there's already plenty of minority characters that have been created over the decades that these universes have been created, that you haven't given the spotlight to, that you can build off of. Yes, they might not be well known, but if you're good at the storytelling, you can make it work. So if MCU is as good as we think it should make it work. It should.
I think that actually makes me think about, like, damn it! It was in my head 2 seconds ago. It was sitting right at the fourth, and then it just said nope.
All right, Duray, you brought up something that brings out a little bit of a rant in me, though. The claim that Magneto and Xavier were originally created as a metaphor for Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X.
Prepare to be insulted and or triggered.
All right, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay, so Stan Lee was very good at a lot of things. Mm-hmm. He did a lot of things very well, and I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but one thing he was very good was at taking credit for other people's ideas. A lot of people don't realize this. The X-Men were like the first reboot ever. The X-Men that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created were not popular. It was a failed book. It was 5 white kids from upstate New York who were the mutants who went on these adventures. The book was canceled almost immediately. Chris Claremont rebooted it. It was in reprints for 30 or 40 issues. X-Men 94 was the first one that Chris Claremont did, and it was kind of a complete reboot of the X-Men, and it was the idea of getting people from all over the world representing different cultures, them all coming together. He was the one who introduced the metaphor.
I have to say something really quick. Alden, I see you're watching. For some reason, your comments aren't popping up here, so I can't put them on the screen. But what's up, buddy? I see you out there. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say Claremont gets the credit for the metaphor with the X-Men. He's the one who created that. There was not a touch of that in the Stan Lee stuff.
Even if it wasn't intentional, the great thing about it was that it still mirrored. Honestly, like, if it wasn't intentional, I'm not mad. Like, you can't help that it wasn't intentional. But it was
intentional. But I'm just saying the person who takes credit for that does not get the
it
credit for it.
Stan Lee's intention.
It was not. That was Chris Claremont introduced all Chris. Everything you know about the X-Men is Chris Claremont.
I think it's dope either way, because the idea of these, I think it's really awesome. It's really dope. If they did make those characters black, I would not have a problem with it, because, like I said, it doesn't. Their stories, other than Magneto's, but like you said, Rakia, there are black Jews. But other than that, like, don't change the race if the race is part of the character's story and it needs to be one race or another. I really enjoy, like, but if you want to make the allegory more black and white, be like, hey, these are black people, I don't mind it. Now, I do want to talk about this. So to
me, though, I want to throw this in real quick. To me, the Holocaust is not what's important to Magneto. It's that he survived a genocide. So if they made him survived a genocide in Africa, and they made him a black character.
But here's why I disagree with that. Because there's Jewish people out there who look at that character.
That's fair. That's valid.
Right.
That's very valid.
If it's a black Jewish person, then you can still tell that story of a black Jewish survivor of the Holocaust, and then you won't be stepping on the toes of a Jewish person who looked at that story as, look at this Jewish representation on television. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's me as the outsider saying this is the important part to your story.
But you're right. You're right. It is important that he survived the genocide, but however, as a Jewish person growing up, not having a lot of Jewish representation,
super valid. Yeah,
it is valid. Now, does he have to be a Polish Jew or a black Jew that's a different question. But the idea that they are a Jewish person who survived the Holocaust, I think that is a huge part of his story that is necessary to stay. Now,
yeah, that's valid.
But I think, damn it happened again, Rakia. Fix me.
I'm sorry. No, I'm reading up on Claremont right now. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Chris Claremont. I will tell you everything you need to know about Chris. I love Chris Claremont.
I know that we don't think it's we
still never
a valid
answered
source, but like Wikipedia will give you a good introduction to at least sources to find things about these
Wikipedia is not a horrible source. It's just
not.
It's a great jump off though. Let's ask this question as a group. So we were talking about Monica Rambeau because we've teetered on the question, but we haven't. So I've said where I think the series is going to go with Monica. What does everybody else feel like the MCU? Because clearly the MCU believes that this character has wings because that after credit scene said a lot. So where do y'all think the future of the MCU and Monica Rambeau? Sorry, what do you think the future of Monica Rambeau is within the MCU and where we're going on that journey?
My thought process is like, at what point did they finish the finale during this pandemic? Is it when we were first introduced to Monica Rambeau and we're starting to get into her and there's a possibility of her being popular, or was this already done? And because I'm wondering this because I'm thinking like because they could go either way with this, but like because we know that we're into her right now, they may do more because there's things that they've already scheduled but haven't been in production due to the pandemic, where they could alter some things and like add more, or give her more story or more room to grow than they originally planned. So like I'm hoping that due to how popular she has been in WandaVision, that they're like they see the proof that like they can definitely go like full throttle with her right now because it's clear that we like her.
So I think here's the thing about it. I think, like I said back in the beginning, Marvel, unlike DC, they trust themselves. So I think when they cast her, because here's a few things. She said in interviews that she knew who Monica Rambeau was. Tiana Paris I'm talking about. She knew who Monica Rambeau was because Twitter started fan casting her as Monica Rambeau. Yes, so, which is back to my point that Disney, Marvel, MCU, they listen to their
people.
Fans. Their fans were saying, hey, this is a great person for this. And they were like, fuck it. They did our work for it. They already told us who they want. So we're just going to give them who they want, right? So because of that, they already knew there was fan support, right? And then she had the nerve to show up on set and do what she did and be amazing, right? How dare you, right?
Right.
Then exceed our expectations. So my point is to say, I believe that they knew already that she was going to be a hit because this is Disney we're talking about. If there's one thing Disney knows, is that they know a hit when they goddamn see one.
Yeah, they had
know
future
that.
plans.
They know a hit when they see one because this is freaking Disney, right? So I feel like, I get what you're saying. I feel like the reception she's getting is either what they expected or more than what they expected. So I'm hoping that what happens is we had plans for her, but now that this is the reception that we're getting,
we can get more.
We can do more.
Right.
I'm hoping that's the vibe. Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. That's what I'm hoping too.
Me too.
That'll be great because that does prove it. Like they do listen to its fans, but because of how far they plan things, or at least they got a good outline on stuff. Like there's no telling what they already had planned, and so like regardless of what they originally planned, they can do whatever they want now because we're like, oh shit, we're down with Monica Rambeau for sure. And even the ones that had that weren't into the theories and like the fan casting and all that, we're all down for it. So there's no limit. Go ahead.
I want her to become her own independent with her own series of movies or show something. That's what I want. I want a whole thing centered around her.
Go ahead and add that to phase 4. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. And I think that's possible since they're introducing Blue Marvel. The fact that they're introducing Blue Marvel makes me feel like they're introducing a love interest for her and not for Carol Danvers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think Carol Danvers caught on the way they expected her to.
Well, I think there are women out there who really like Carol Danvers. But I feel like the issue isn't Carol Danvers. Like people keep saying the reason people don't like her is because she's not relatable. No, that's not why. Because her as a character wasn't not relatable. The issue was the story that the writers told. I blame the writers. The stories that they told wasn't the same formula that every other Marvel movie had. So you gave us this epic, powerful character, but you failed to give us that humanistic side of her so we could see this struggle and just, oh my God. So where we're sitting here like scared, even all the most badass characters we've been introduced to, we were terrified for them at one point when we first met them. Even Wanda, through all of this, we were scared. When the drones, we were scared. Like, what are they going to do? Is the FBI going to label her a villain? Even though at the end of the day, nobody's fucking with Wanda. And we knew that in the back of our head, but still we were scared for her. They created that
to
fear.
build up to her potential.
We didn't, as an audience, ever feel like, oh shit, Carol Danvers is at risk. Right. We're scared for her. And that is important with these new characters. Because even with, unlike, I will give you the one character that didn't happen with was Spider-Man. But you can't really compare Spider-Man to Carol Danvers because Spider-Man has this whole history of 4 or 5 iterations of him. So when we were introduced to Spider-Man, we were relieved.
More familiar, yeah.
Well, also, we were familiar, but not only were we familiar, we were also relieved that we didn't have to watch goddamn Uncle Ben die again. Mm-hmm. Hello? We were just happy we didn't have to sit through that shit again. I was just like, thank you for not making me watch.
Origin God, come on.
Thank you. By the time we met Aunt May, she was over it. She had processed. She had healed. It was a thing. And I'm like, that was the smartest thing they did. Was like, we know his backstory. Like literally.
I like the way they address it in those movies too, because they kind of reference it as something that happened in the past, but they don't make. It's not the driving. Like there's a couple of times where they mention something about what happened to your uncle or something like that, and that's the extent of the references to him.
But it's good though because at the end of the
I'm sorry. I like the fact that he's still young as opposed to the other renditions. You eventually see them as like adult types. Like you get a brief I guess I'm trying to remember back to Tobey Maguire's version. Like he's in high school for a little bit, but you eventually see him in adulthood. But right now you're seeing
the second movie he was right,
and then, but you're seeing this version of Spider-Man as literally a teenager trying.
But here's the difference, though.
Yeah,
Rakia, they were building in this. They're building the Spider-Man as part of a universe, and that they weren't. So they were thinking of that as a standalone series. In this, we don't need Spider-Man to grow up because guess what? We don't have a teenager.
Right.
We don't have anyone who's just a teen. So let's keep him young, youthful, and let him feel that, which goes back to us talking about demographics. They know this is our teen demographic, and that's what he's going to be. So he's going to be, for that age group, their version of, oh, it's me on screen. If it's not him, it's Zendaya or the guy who plays his best friend, the Asian kid.
The Ned.
So the point is, so those kids can all see themselves in their high school situations. And what's beautiful about those movies is they're so diverse. Like the girl, his love interests are always black for some reason. But even in the love interest in the first movie, her dad was white, her mother was black. So then we get to see an interracial couple as well. It's about the inclusion that they do, right? But when you introduce Spider-Man versus when you introduce Captain Marvel, there's all that stuff. So really with Spider-Man, we just want to see, okay, we know he's in this movie. We're not going to it's not his movie, so we don't have to worry about his origin story. Uncle Ben's already dead. We already know about that. So now, as an audience member, all we have to focus on is him. Who is he? And then we get introduced to this Peter Parker, who's the same Peter Parker as far as talking shit all the time, very Buffy-esque, right? But it's an incredibly endearing performance. Mm-hmm. He's funny. He's fun. He's determined to be this do-gooder, but he's also starstruck. And so for us, it was endearing. They didn't give us any of those things for Carol Danvers. And I don't blame Carol Danvers. And it pisses me off, actually, because they did that for the first for the first women-led production. They did that. And I'm just like, but you could have done so many other things. And I know you could have done it because you did it with WandaVision. Mm-hmm. So I wish they had given her the care to be cared for. and I believe in Disney. I believe in Disney so much, and I think with everything in my heart, with introducing Monica to Carol Danvers' next story, they're gonna find a way for us to feel more connected to her.
They didn't give us much of her human factor, like she's human, and they didn't expand that more than it needed to be.
Absolutely,
Like,
and they made it worse in
Infinity
War.
She's
Not Infinity War, Endgame. They made it worse in Endgame because we didn't get to see any of that either. But now,
boom,
they're gonna face her with the adult version of the only family she has left. So we're gonna hopefully get to see her be a human being. And we already know how Monica rolls. Monica she don't got no punch card. She don't got no time for no bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really what they're setting up. I think they're gonna use Monica to save the Captain Marvel brand by showing a human side, by forcing. And I think that'll be an interesting story to watch. Like they'll address the stoic kind of emotionless version of Carol Danvers and put her face to face with Monica, who's not about that bullshit, right? And then we'll get to see Monica break through those barriers and see who she really is. And I hope that saves the Carol Danvers series.
Mm-hmm.
I think Monica is gonna be her humanity for Danvers. That's how they're gonna pull it together. She's that human quality to, like a counterpart kind of thing.
I might have a disappointing take on this. I think it might change based on the reception to her, but I remember maybe a year and a half ago reading about, and I think they've changed the title of this, but they were talking about they were going to do an Agents of S.W.O.R.D. show to replace Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Disney Plus, and I think it's what's now titled Secret Invasion. But the big thing was Beast was going to be one of the main characters in that, and that he was going to be one of the first X-Men introduced. So I kind of think Beast is the engineer that we never met in the show, and she was brought up. So I think the plan with her is she's going to be the main character of the Secret Invasion show, and it's going to be her and Beast and probably Abigail Brand and Nick Fury hunting down the secret scrolls on Earth.
Theories. Okay, so we're gonna listen. Here's the thing: we decided to do this tonight, literally as a I was like, yo, I really want to just have a bullshit talk session where we're not doing geek it out talk. It's not anything structured or anything. We're just talking and having literally just geeking out. So we decided to do this tonight. It was totally fun. I didn't realize that we've been here for 3 hours.
Yeah, this has been a long night. This has been fun though.
But it's dope. So make sure if you're watching us on Twitch, please follow us so that way you can see our future events. We're going to be bringing a lot of stuff to you like this. Like, of course, we're going to talk about Matt. He's going to be doing some drawing challenges. We have makeup tutorials. We have geeking out stuff. We also have a cooking tutorial that's going to be more regular on our channel. So hang out with us on Twitch. Otherwise, man, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. We've had a pretty good steady 4 or 5, and now we're at 7. So I really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Do y'all have any final thoughts before we go? I know that's my favorite term. Before we go about thoughts about the series and everything like that?
Y'all, I know folks were really caught up in their theories and what they think is going to happen, but it's okay to be along for the ride, guys.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to be along for the ride and just and see what happens. And I know the fanboys are not down for that, but you can still enjoy it. It's time. Just enjoy it for what it is right now. It's okay to enjoy it.
It's okay to just experience. Yes,
experience it. Yes, because that's what I did. Fridays for the last month and a half have been great. Come home, I don't have to share the TV with my kids and watch some WandaVision, eat some Moe's, and enjoy my Friday night. And after watching WandaVision, watch whatever MCU, whether it's MCU or X-Men Fox, the Fox X-Men, just to kind of get some good backstory to further expand my MCU horizons. I've been enjoying this ride. If anything, this has been my favorite thing about the MCU right now. So yeah, enjoy it.
Anyone else want to
Wow.
say anything before we head out? Destiny's like, no.
I think I've covered it.
All I want to say is, man, thanks for hanging out with us. This was fun. We've never done anything like this on this channel, on this network, like where we just randomly post and just hang out. But I think we might do it more often because I think there's space for it. So, like, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. I love you guys. All the nerds out there, like, listen, let me tell y'all something. Actually, this is what I'm going to say. This is our world, nerds. This is our world. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Like, the jocks had they shit, okay? But this is our time. So, like, let's stick together. Let's hang the fuck out. Let's geek out any and every chance we motherfucking get. Like, I love y'all because you're weird just like me. And I want y'all to hang out with us as much as possible. We're going to try to bring you as much fun content as possible. But just hang out with us and love on us. And we'll be here to love with y'all. So I hope y'all have a great night. Please be safe because the world is crazy right now. Wear your masks, even if you don't think they work. It doesn't hurt. I love you guys so much, and I hope y'all have an epic night.